Chapter 229. Ning Fan, the female corpse and Su Qiuling walked together in the middle of the mountain. Along the way, all the maids and guards immediately greeted Su Qiuling respectfully when they saw her. Naturally, no one would question Ning Fan. Su Qiuling did not talk much at the beginning. Occasionally, she would talk about flowers, birds, insects and fish. Ning Fan's knowledge of these things was profound. His occasional words would make Su Qiuling's eyes light up. "Young master, you're really a refined scholar." "Refined scholar, huh?" Ning Fan laughed. If Su Qiuling knew that the so-called refined scholar was actually the ferocious devil of the external endless sea that she hated the most, she would probably be disappointed at the same time. Ning Fan was pondering about the strangeness of Su Qiuling's body. This Su Qiuling is about to die. If Ning Fan was not mistaken, there was a trace of domineering metal spiritual power in her body that robbed her of her life force. She might look beautiful on the outside, but she could actually die at any time. As for that metal spiritual power, if Ning Fan was not mistaken, it should be his brows furrowed. If he was not mistaken, he had to save this Su Qiuling. Not only was it for the great benefits, but it was also for the sake of not letting this woman die. At the end of the winding corridor was a huge light red copper door. Outside the door, Su Qiuling stopped and took a deep breath. With a wave of her wrist, she took out a red copper token and cast a hand seal on it. Immediately, the huge door trembled and turned into a red shadow before disappearing. "Young Master Zhou, father is in the hall. You must remember to be careful with your words when you see him." "Thank you for your reminder, Miss Qiuling. I will be careful." Su Qiuling was slightly nervous. After all, her father was temperamental and he killed people without hesitation. Even if Ning Fan was an outstanding person, he would still be in danger if he displeased her father. Looking at the time, father should be entertaining crazy devil Zhou Ming right now. Would Zhou Ming kill young Master Zhou without the slightest scruple? Her footsteps were hesitant. However, to her surprise, when the copper door opened, there was no devil inside. There were only two old men who seemed to be waiting for someone. Seeing Ning Fan's arrival, the two old men did not seem to be surprised. Instead, they immediately stood up and cupped their fists to welcome him, as if they had been waiting for a long time. "Fellow Taoist Zhou, you've finally come. You really made me wait for a long time." "Aha! Brother Zhou is here." These two voices, one was Su Russian, the other was Yan Zhongzi. With that, the two divine transformation stage patriarchs immediately turned into green smoke and floated out of the palace to greet him. Su Qiuling's pretty face was filled with surprise. Su Qiuling's pretty face was filled with shock. When this shocked expression fell on her usually calm face, it looked exceptionally adorable. She never expected that her father and Uncle Yan of the cloud-treading sect would personally welcome young Master Zhou despite being at the deification realm. She was worried that Zhou would make her father and Yin be unhappy. But now of the two of them, of Qiuling fan of the sect, an extremely absurd guess couldn't help but arise in Su Qiuling's heart. Of Qiuling where Su of Qiuling was an Su Russian cupped and slightly. Fan might he seemed to it was when he bow. Zhou of Fan's Changming. He was fan of the slight. The Qiu fan. When Su Russian cupped his fists he bowed slightly. Although it was a small gesture, it showed that his respect towards Ning Fan came from the bottom of his heart. Su Russian only showed his respect to venerated giant. Today, however, he showed it to Ning Fan. It was too unusual. As for Yan Zhongzi, he secretly took half a step back. Although it was a small step, it showed that he had a trace of fear towards Ning Fan in the depths of his heart. The reason why he took a step back was because he was being cautious. A dignified divine transformation realm cultivator had to be cautious and fearful when facing a young man of the younger generation. It was even more unusual. Su Qiuling could not understand it. She could not understand it no matter what. She looked at Ning Fan as if she was asking for confirmation. "May I know young Master Zhou's name?" "I'm sorry. I've met Miss Qiuling a few times, but I've never told you my name. My name is Zhou Ming." Zhou Ming. He was Zhou Ming. That Zhou Ming, whom she hated so much, actually looked like this? How could this be? Su Qiuling stared at Ning Fan speechlessly. She could not understand why this gentle and refined young man was the devil lord that the outer endless sea feared. This person's behavior was obviously well-mannered. How could he be a heinous pervert? Su Qiuling knew that the devil lord that her father wanted to meet was crazy devil Zhou Ming. Her father had even asked her to come and meet Zhou Ming. However, Su Qiuling rejected him with pride. She was unwilling to do so. However, if she knew that her father wanted her to meet young Master Zhou, she might not have refused to meet him. Young master really hides himself well. Su Qiuling sighed faintly. She had said this once in the flower tomb. However, when she said it again now, it was a completely different feeling. So this young Master Zhou was actually Zhou Ming. Moreover, he was able to make her father and Uncle Yan bend down to befriend him. I've still underestimated this person. This person's reputation was extremely bad. However, Su Qiuling believed her own eyes more. The Ning Fan that she saw was a man of flesh and blood with a graceful bearing. That's all. However, she had no idea how many times she had badmouthed Zhou Ming along the way and kept reminding Ning Fan to be careful. She did not know if Ning Fan would mind it or not. Moreover, Su Qiuling's heart was also slightly annoyed. She blamed Ning Fan for not telling her his full name, causing her to make a fool of herself in front of him once again. Su Qiuling understood that the reason why Ning Fan did not tell her was because he was worried that the name Zhou Ming would make her afraid. He is Zhou Ming. He is actually Zhou Ming. Su Qiuling's mind was in a mess. For a moment, she did not know how to face Ning Fan. On the other hand, Ning Fan cupped his fists to greet the two spirit-severing realm experts. Su Russian's respect towards him seemed to be a little excessive. There must be a reason why he did not know about it. However, Su Russian should not have any malicious intent. As for Yan Zhongzi, it was only normal for him to be afraid of me. The punch that he used to shatter the 5 harmonies palm was probably enough to break the 7 harmonies palm. It was normal for him to be afraid of me since such a punch was able to injure Yan Zhongzi. As for the fact that he did not see old ancestors Watong of the Purple Charm sect, Ning Fan was even more certain of one thing. Yan Zhongzi was here, but Swatong was not. He was probably escorting the other 6 disciples of the external endless sea back to their sect to avoid calamity. I've already guessed, fellow Taoist, Zhou's purpose of coming here. Why don't we have a deeper discussion in the palace? Sure. The magnificent copper palace was filled with mysterious patterns. The host and the guests were seated at the center of the palace. Without exchanging any pleasantries, Su Russian took out an ancient map and spread it on the copper table as soon as he sat down. Fellow Taoist Zhou, please take a look. This map shows the outer area of the secret realm of the broken world. It is 70 million li wide. I know your strength and the purpose of your visit today. I have already prepared a generous gift. If fellow Taoist needs anything that can help you enter the secret realm, I will do my best to fulfill it. However, I need a clear answer. After you have seen the map, how confident are you to kill 150 wild beasts within 5 months? What? Did I hear it wrongly? My father actually begged young Master Zhou to enter the secret realm of the broken world and kill 150 wild beasts. Su Qiuling's small mouth opened slightly. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock. What kind of place is the secret realm of the broken world? It is a place that even peak nascent soul cultivators would face great risks in entering. Those who managed to kill 1 wild beast within the secret realm would already be considered as outstanding among peak nascent soul cultivators. However, to kill 150 wild beasts within 5 months, how is this possible? She had heard about Zhou Ming's notorious reputation and his extraordinary strength. He was the strongest cultivator below the divine transformation realm. Even so, her father was being too reckless to let him enter the secret realm and risk his life. Su Qiuling's beautiful eyes fell on the ancient map. Looking at the densely packed blood-red dots on the surface of the mountains and rivers, she felt her scalp going numb. Each of the red dots was a wild beast. This map was recorded by a peak nascent soul cultivator of the Pleasure Devil sect who had entered the secret realm several times. Even though it was not completely accurate, it was not too far off. This map only recorded the periphery of the secret realm. Within the 70 million li radius of the area, There were at least 3 great wild beast clans, which amounted to a few hundred wild beasts, 5 months and 150 wild beasts. Even if her father could enter the secret realm, he wouldn't have more than 70% confidence in killing 150 wild beasts within 5 months. How much confidence does young Master Zhou have? No matter how powerful he is not a divine transformation realm expert. Initially, I only have 70% confidence. But with this map, I can more or less avoid danger. I have 80% confidence. What? He actually has 80% confidence. Su Qiuling was secretly shocked. Even though she had only met him a few times, she knew that this young Master Zhou was not someone who liked to play to the gallery. If he said he had 80% confidence, then it was 80%. Killing 150 wild beasts in 5 months. Even her father only had 70% confidence. Could it be that this Zhou Ming is more powerful than her father? Only 80% confidence. Su Rushan and Yan Zhongzi looked at each other. Faintly, they could see the worry in each other's eyes. 80% confidence. Father is still not satisfied with such a high confidence. How much does father value Zhou Ming? That's right. I only have 80% confidence because Senior Su only gave me the map of the outer region. If there are ferocious beasts in the inner region that obstructs me when they see me hunting, even I wouldn't dare to say that I have 100% confidence in completing the mission. The affairs of the world were unpredictable. Without seeing the map of the inner region, Ning Fan did not give a full answer. I see. If fellow Taoist is concerned about this, you can be at ease. There won't be any ferocious beasts in the inner region that will disturb your hunting. It's because the inner region of the secret realm of the broken world is blocked by a formation light. There's no way to enter it at all. Perhaps the reason why wild beasts are born so quickly is because there's no way to investigate it. Formation light? Ning Fan frowned. There was a formation light in the secret realm of the broken world. Of course, there must be some hidden secrets. However, if it doesn't interfere with his hunting, it wouldn't be a problem. If there are no other disturbances, I have 100% confidence in completing fellow Taoist Su's mission. That's good. That's good. Su Rushan heaved a sigh of relief. If Ning Fan, who was at the Jade Life Body Refinement Realm, did not have 100% confidence, perhaps it would be difficult to find an expert below the Divine Transformation Realm who could complete the mission of Venerated Giant, which was almost a harsh mission. If that's the case, fellow Taoist Zhou, please take a look at the gifts that I have prepared for you. If you lack anything, feel free to tell me. Su Rushan rose to his feet with a slightly awkward expression. He shook his head with a bitter smile and clapped his hands. Immediately, 12 graceful female cultivators with slender waists walked out from the inner palace. All 12 of them were peerlessly beautiful human cauldrons. Each of them possessed profound bewitching techniques. As soon as they saw Ning Fan entering, they immediately greeted him in unison. Servants, greet master. Each of these 12 women had a cultivation base at the nascent soul realm. It was no wonder that Su Rushan's face was filled with embarrassment. Gifting women to another man as human cauldrons in front of his own daughter was really not a glorious thing. Su Qiuling, on the other hand, was already used to it. It was perfectly normal for devil cultivators to gift human cauldrons to each other, even though she did not like it. However, Su Qiuling knew that these 12 women were all the remaining nascent soul realm human cauldrons in the Pleasure Devil sect. Her father actually gave all of them to young Master Zhou. The 12 of them have grown up in my Pleasure Devil sect since young. Each of them has an extraordinary physique and is suitable for plucking. I heard that fellow Taoist Zhou is good at using human cauldrons for cultivation. If that's the case, is this old man's gift satisfactory to fellow Taoist? Ning Fan's expression was puzzled, but he sighed inwardly. 12 nascent soul realm human cauldrons were indeed a great gift. However, he was slightly disappointed that the spirit-severing realm human cauldron was not among them. Fellow Taoist, do you want the spirit-severing realm human cauldron? Su Rushan seemed to have seen through Ning Fan's thoughts. I'm sorry. Ning Fan smiled bitterly. Cough. It's not that I'm being stingy. It's just that this spirit-severing realm human cauldron was captured by the giant devil clan in the internal endless sea. It has some background. If fellow Taoist obtains it, it won't be a good thing but a disaster. Su Rushan did not explain further. Obviously, this matter involved some secrets. Is that so? Ning Fan did not say much and said to the 12 women, "From today onwards, all of you will be my human cauldrons. If you don't betray me, I won't let you down. At least, all of you will be safe for the rest of your lives. Thank you for sparing our lives, Master." The meaning behind Ning Fan's words was obvious. If you don't betray me, I won't kill you. At most, I'll just pluck you. To the women who were human cauldrons, this was undoubtedly good news. Of course, they were extremely grateful to him. Su Qiuling's thoughts were rather complicated. She did not like Ning Fan's action of accepting the human cauldrons. However, from the perspective of devil cultivators, Ning Fan was more merciful than most devil cultivators. At least, he killed them before using them, gave them to others and sold them again. Ning Fan had accepted the 12 human cauldrons. However, it did not mean that he was not interested in the spirit-severing realm human cauldrons. As for the specific condition of the spirit-severing realm human cauldrons, he would only know after seeing them at the auction. If he really wants them, he could just bid for them with immortal jade. Seeing that Ning Fan did not show any joy after accepting the human cauldrons, Su Rushan could not help but smile bitterly. It seemed like he did not have enough capital to bribe the great devil Lord Zhou. To nascent soul realm human cauldrons, 12 nascent soul realm human cauldrons were considered a great gift. However, to spirit-severing realm human cauldrons, it was nothing. Su Rushan pondered for a moment. Then, he patted his storage pouch and took out a set of shining silver armor. As soon as he took out the armor, his face showed a hint of pain while Yan Zhong's eyes were filled with passion. This is the set of spiritual equipment that fellow Taoist Su mentioned before. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. In his eyes, this set of spiritual equipment was extremely extraordinary. That's right. This set of spiritual equipment is called General Silver Armor. It was the last work of a spirit augmentation master who had passed away. The whole set of spiritual equipment is divided into 7 parts. The boots, the lower part, the upper part, the wrist guard, the spirit ring, the spirit chain and the spirit helmet. These 7 spiritual equipment are all low-grade earth profound realm. The boots can increase the speed of the body. The upper part and the lower part can increase the defense of the body. The wrist guard can increase the strength of the body. The spirit ring can increase the primordial essence of the 5 elements. The spirit chain can increase the defense of the bewitching technique. The spirit helmet can prevent the injury of the sea of consciousness. If you wear these 7 spiritual equipment, with your Jade Life Realm physical body, you can even withstand the attacks of a mid-spirit severing realm expert. Moreover, when the 7 spiritual equipment recognize you as their master, you can even activate the Spirit Formation ability. Spirit Formation. Ning Fan raised his eyebrows. The defense of this spiritual equipment is not any weaker than the first level of Jade Life Realm. If I wear this spiritual equipment, I can directly block Yan Zhong's 5 harmonies palm. That's right. A set of spiritual equipment. Every spiritual equipment has a technique sealed within it. If the 7 spiritual equipment recognize you as their master at the same time, you can activate the technique of the Spirit Formation and double the recovery speed of your magic power. Moreover, the 7 stars will combine into one and condense the power of the heavenly spirit to form a heavenly spirit blade, to kill your enemies. As for the details, you will know when the spiritual equipment recognizes you as its master in the future. I will only say one thing. Even if fellow Taoist has yet to enter the Jade Life Realm, it won't be difficult for you to fight against a spirit-severing realm expert with the power of this spiritual equipment. After fellow Taoist obtains this spiritual equipment, even I am not willing to fight against fellow Taoist. Interesting. However, can fellow Taoist Su explain the meaning of the Devil Mountain's insignia on this spiritual equipment? Ning Fan believed that Su Rushan did not lie. This spiritual equipment was indeed extremely powerful. However, there was one thing that he was sure about. Such a powerful spiritual equipment should not belong to an early spirit-severing realm cultivator like Su Rushan. Perhaps the reason why he took out this spiritual equipment was not as simple as giving a gift. The insignia of the Devil Mountain was imprinted on the silver armor. It seemed to be the insignia of a certain force. If Ningfan's guess was right, once he puts on this spiritual equipment, there would be a special meaning to it. It would not be easy to take it off. That mountain looked very familiar. It was extremely similar to the profound earth devil marks on its back. Previously, Ningfan did not understand why Su Rushan was overly respectful towards him. Now, however, he could vaguely guess the reason. Perhaps it had something to do with this devil mountain. After all, Su Rushan only showed him respect after he condensed his divine intent and punched out a shadow of the devil mountain. What exactly is this mountain? To be honest, this insignia is the insignia of the giant devil clan of the eternal endless sea. This spiritual equipment was also given to me by venerated giant. As for this mountain, its name is Devil Luo Mountain. Does fellow Taoist know anything about this Devil Luo Mountain? Devil Luo Mountain. When Ningfan muttered these 3 words, he could faintly feel the devil marks on his back becoming hot. As expected, his devil marks were closely related to this Devil Luo Mountain. Chapter 230. In the mysterious Jade Palace, Ningfan looked at the set of silver armors with a solemn expression. Devil Luo Mountain. Ningfan knew nothing about it, but Su Rushan seemed to have gotten a satisfactory answer from Ningfan. Is this the reason why he was so respectful to me? After Su Rushan got a satisfactory answer, Su Rushan did not reject any of the items that Ningfan asked for. Other than a set of profound earth spiritual equipment and 12 nascent soul realm human cauldrons, Su Rushan also offered 50 million immortal jades, 24th revolution pill recipes, 5 5th revolution pill recipes, 3 nascent soul realm Dao fruits and 50 heavenly primordial pills. As for recovery pills, there were countless of them. Ningfan got a piece of mortal void grade spirit iron which had the fire spirit ability. This spirit iron could greatly increase the power of fire attribute magical treasures. However, it was obviously not suitable to use it on the spirit shattering whip. If the spirit shattering whip was to be attached with the metal spirit or lightning spirit, the attribute of the fire spirit was wrong. However, Ningfan would not return the spirit iron to Su Rushan even if it was temporarily useless. He got 2 profound sky incomplete treasures. What surprised Ningfan the most was that Su Rushan gave him the Mother Earth Nether Milk as the reward. Except for the Mother Earth's heart, almost all the rewards were paid. 200 drops of Mother Earth Nether Milk. And the price of killing 150 wild beasts was 2,000 units of magic power. If Ningfan absorbs this milk, he would be able to break through to the peak of nascent soul realm. However, refining the Mother Earth Nether Milk, heavenly primordial pills, Dao fruits and green phoenix fire would take a lot of time. Compared to the other methods to increase his cultivation base, plucking human cauldrons would save him the most time. Ningfan shook his cauldron ring and summoned a nascent soul realm woman. I need to pluck you, but I can keep your gold core realm cultivation base for you. Thank you for not killing me, master. Please take pity on me. 5 days later, Ningfan plucked the primordial een of the 12 nascent soul realm women. His magic power increased by 215 units to 675 units. The reason why it was less than expected was because he had used up too much of his yang essence. It was not easy to pluck nascent soul realm women. After collecting all the Yuanying stage cauldrons in the Pleasure Devil Sea, apart from the Green Jade Immortal Island, there would be few Yuanying stage women in the outer sea. He pushed open the door and walked out. The dead woman was still following him silently. Ningfan raised his head and looked at the snowy sky, suppressing his aura back into his body. With the increase in his magic power, his perception of the heaven and earth yuan energy became sharper. Ordinary nascent soul realm cultivators would first comprehend the general trend, then comprehend the bottleneck of the spirit-severing realm, and finally comprehend the divine intent after the spirit-severing realm. However, Ningfan was the exact opposite. Before the auction, there were still 2 things to do. First, form the second finger of the sword finger. The second was to refine the silver spirit equipment. He pressed his palm against the ground and unleashed the soul extraction divine ability. However, this time, what he extracted was not the island's soul, but the gold vein spiritual power of half of the celestial island. The Joyous Union celestial island was not big. With his cultivation, it was enough to extract the power of the peninsula. Surging golden spiritual force flowed through Ningfan's right hand and into his body, as if it was going to burst his body. At this moment, the entire Union celestial island was in chaos. Countless old monsters noticed that the spirit energy on the island had instantly become extremely thin. Only deity transformation stage cultivators could sense that someone was using a soul extraction technique to extract the spirit chi of the entire island. Who was it? Someone actually mastered the soul extraction technique. Su Rushan and Yen Zhong turned into green smoke and floated into the sky. Ningfan had obtained Su Rushan's permission to extract the spiritual force of half of the island. Both of them naturally knew that it was most likely Ningfan's doing. Both of them were inwardly shocked by Ningfan's means. At the same time, the other 4 deity transformation stage cultivators also flew into the sky. Their bodies were bathed in black snow and their eyes were filled with seriousness. They carefully spread out their spirit sense. Under the influence of the magnetic force, they tried to find the expert who extracted the island's soul from the island. However, they found nothing. At this moment, Ningfan had already entered the Yuan Yao world after extracting the golden power of the peninsula. Since he was in a small kiliocosm, how could a deity transformation stage cultivator from the outside world detect him? In the Yuan Yao world, Ningfan, who was enveloped by the surging golden power, looked like a golden man. He tried his best to force the golden spiritual force into the second finger of his right hand, to form the second finger of the sword finger. The first finger, mountain shattering. The second finger, heaven shattering. The golden man sat upright on the ground. All of the golden spiritual force was slowly forced into the tip of his right finger, causing the golden light on his finger to shine like a sun. The golden power was already sufficient. However, Ningfan could not use the second finger of the sword finger no matter what. It was as if there was a barrier that prevented Ningfan from performing the technique. He pondered over it for 1,000 times. In the end, he understood that some things could not be understood just by thinking about it. He was afraid that he would only be able to fully understand the essence of this finger in a battle. After ordering the female corpse to retreat slightly, Ningfan temporarily stopped suppressing the golden light. He patted his storage pouch and took out a stone puppet. With a wave of his hand, the stone puppet grew in the wind and turned into Stone Warrior. Stone Warrior, listen to my command. Before Stone Warrior regained his consciousness, Ningfan gave an order which carried a strong aura force. It made Stone Warrior's hollow eyes reveal a hint of surprise. What a strong aura force. It's almost comparable to a divine transformation realm cultivator. You are still at the late nascent soul realm. Why do you have such a strong aura force? Almost immediately, Stone Warrior realized that the place he was in was actually a small kiliocosm. Even though this small kiliocosm had been altered beyond recognition by Ningfan, it still looked a little familiar. This is my Mistress Yuan Yao world. Impossible. How could the Yuan Yao jade fall into your hands? What have you done to my mistress? Bei Xiaoman is safe and sound. As per your promise, I became the guest alchemy master of the Lost World Palace and treated Bei Xiaoman's injuries when she was in trouble. I took this jade from her, but she did not resist. Of course, Bei Xiaoman would not dare to resist when the jade slip was in Ningfan's hands. Stone Warrior checked the blood on his glabella. It was Bei Xiaoman's blood. It was left behind when he recognized her as his puppet. Stone Warrior felt slightly relieved when he found that the blood was safe. However, he still doubted Ningfan's words about saving Bei Xiaoman. Nevertheless, he believed that Ningfan did not harm Bei Xiaoman. Ningfan frowned slightly. As expected, Stone Warrior was not loyal to him. It was really troublesome to use him like this. Once his strength far surpasses Stone Warrior, he could return him. Unfortunately, Stone Warrior was not loyal to him after all. As for Bei Xiaoman, she was his cauldron. It would not matter if he gave her some benefits. Let's fight. The Situ Devil Star flashed in Ningfan's right eye. A monstrous devil intent emerged, and turned into a devil mountain with black chi covering the sky. Ningfan stood on the peak of the mountain. Fight with me. He looked down at Stone Warrior. At this moment, Stone warrior who had a body of earth and stone could feel an irresistible pressure from Ning Fan. At this moment, in Stone warrior's eyes, Ning Fan was not a human but a mountain, a devil mountain. This is devil intent. But what grade is it exactly? It's not the 8th grade nor the 7th grade. It's the 6th grade. This young man actually comprehended a 6th grade devil intent in such a short period of time. The last time Stone Warrior turned into a stone puppet, it was when Ning Fan was at the late nascent soul realm. This time, however, Ning Fan's magic power had improved significantly. What Stone Warrior found unbelievable was that Ning Fan had condensed a 6th grade devil intent despite possessing the 8th grade divine intent, the divine intent of rain. Under this devil intent, Stone Warrior's body trembled violently. His mountain divine intent was insignificant in front of Ning Fan's devil mountain. It was as if a monarch had descended. Fight with me. Ning Fan's eyes were indifferent. He wanted to comprehend the second finger of the sword finger through the battle with Stone Warrior. This gaze caused Stone Soldier's stone heart to tremble uncontrollably. Yes. In the end he obeyed Ning Fan's order. However, Stone Warrior didn't think that Ning Fan would be able to defeat him. He could see that Ning Fan was comprehending a body technique. However, he had no idea how powerful this technique was. However, Stone Warrior did not think that he would lose. Born to fight. From the foot of the Devil Mountain, his physical body transformed. When he grew to 700 Zhang, he thought that he could touch Ning Fan, who was standing on the peak of the Devil Mountain, with a wave of his hand. However, something shocking happened. With his ordinary body, he was just an ant in front of the Devil Mountain. His 700 Zhang body was obviously taller than the Devil Mountain, but his aura was still far inferior. Collapse. When Ning Fan uttered a word, Stone Warrior's Dharma body was on the verge of collapsing. What kind of devil intent is this? What kind of mountain is this? With just a single thought, it made my stone puppet body on the verge of collapsing. Stone Warrior was astonished. This devil mountain must have a great background. It was like the king of the mountain, which was not to be looked at directly. Only some 3rd grade divine intents would be able to destroy the Stone Warriors with just a single thought. The reason why the devil intent of this devil mountain was only at the 6th grade was probably because Ning Fan had yet to fully comprehend it. If he were to fully comprehend this devil intent, perhaps the power of this devil intent would be comparable to a 3rd grade divine intent or even higher. If he was not mistaken, this shadow of the Devil Mountain was very similar to the devil marks that he had etched for Ning Fan. Could it be that when I made the 99 strokes, I accidentally drew out some kind of powerful devil intent? At this moment, Stone Warrior no longer dared to underestimate Ning Fan. If Ning Fan used the Morning Death technique to capture Stone Warrior in the past, then now, he was able to suppress Stone Warrior with just his devil intent. Stone Warrior understood that the reason why his Dharma body did not collapse was because Ning Fan showed mercy. Ning Fan, who was a late nascent soul realm expert, actually showed mercy to his early spirit severing realm puppet. Fight with me. At this moment, Ning Fan took a step forward and leaped up from the peak of the Devil Mountain. He lifted his finger and pressed it down. One finger, mountain shattering. Under this finger, countless mountains that were sucked into the Yuan Yao world crumbled. Each time a mountain collapsed, the power of his finger became stronger. When the shadow of the Devil Mountain behind Ning Fan crumbled, it turned into rolling devil chi and flowed into his finger. This finger carried a sword light and went against Stone Warrior's giant fist. Stone Warrior did not expect that Ning Fan did not activate the sword light from his finger. Instead, he left it in his finger and used his physical body to attack his fist. In his impression, even though Ning Fan's physical body was strong, he was still at the half-step Jade Life realm. Compared to a true Jade Life realm expert like him, Ning Fan was still far inferior. Moreover, he had manifested his Dharma body while Ning Fan was still an insignificant ant. However, when the fist and finger came into contact with each other, a trace of mountain-shattering and earth-shattering intent came from Ning Fan's tiny finger. Amidst the rumbling sound, one of Stone Warrior's arms shook violently. His gigantic stone fist was crushed. His giant body retreated tens of steps, crushing countless mountains and rivers before he could stabilize himself. His hollow eyes were filled with shock. You have broken through to the Jade Life Realm. There's no doubt about it. This person must have broken through to the Jade Life Realm. Otherwise, this finger sword would at most make me feel a little apprehensive. It would definitely not be a threat to me. However, the result was that my gigantic fist that manifested my Dharma body was crushed. This was the first time Stone Warrior suffered a loss in a clash of body techniques with Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not answer Stone Warrior's question. The answer was obvious. If he had not attained the Jade Life Realm, he would certainly not be arrogant enough to compete with Stone Warrior. The first finger of his finger, Mountain Shattering, was an application of the power of Earth. It was already effective against Stone Warrior. In addition to the devil intent of the Devil Luo Mountain, it was not strange for him to injure Stone Warrior with a single finger. Devil Luo Mountain. This mountain must have a great background in the devil race. Now, I understand Su Rushan's intention. He gave me this silver armor, and told me that this armor belonged to the revered figure of the giant devil clan. Even though he did not directly recruit me, I must find out the ins and outs of the Devil Luo Mountain, if I want to increase the power of my devil intent. Even Stone Warrior does not know about the Devil Luo Mountain, but the giant devil clan does. If I enter the Internal Endless Sea, the giant devil clan will have no choice but to go there. He took a deep breath and stepped into the sky. Then he collected his thoughts and looked at the tip of his finger. That trace of golden light had yet to form the second finger. Not enough. It's still not enough. Let's fight again. Ning Fan leaped into the air and the force of his finger, Mountain Shattering, landed on Stone Warrior's body. After knowing that Ning Fan was at the Jade Life Realm, Stone Warrior no longer dared to underestimate him. He displayed a Divine Transformation Realm defensive body technique, and formed a fiery red stone armor around his body, blocking all of Mountain Shattering's sword fingers. The first finger of his finger was still limited in power after all. It was not enough to break this fiery red stone armor. Without using their trump cards, Stone Warrior and Ning Fan were evenly matched. The battle lasted for a day and a night. The golden light on Ning Fan's fingertip became brighter and brighter. However, it still lacked a trigger to trigger the force of his finger. The first finger, Mountain Shattering, used the shattered mountains as the force of the finger, and turned it into a sword finger to attack the enemy. The second finger, Sky Shattering, naturally needed to collapse the heavens. However, the heavens had no form. How could it collapse? How could it collapse the heavens? When their fists and fingers collided again, Stone Warrior's body was sent flying tens of li away, while Ning Fan was also sent flying like a cannonball. He retreated continuously in the sky, and when he retreated to the sea, he finally steadied himself. After a day of tough battle, he had consumed a lot of his energy. He had almost reached his limit. Stone Warrior, on the other hand, did not have it easy either. Without using his trump cards, he, a dignified Divine Transformation Realm cultivator, had to fight evenly with Ning Fan for a whole day. During their first encounter, Ning Fan had to use all of his techniques to last 3 breaths. Now, however, as long as Stone Warrior does not use the 7 killing Gui technique that Bei Xiaoman gave him, it would be difficult for him to defeat Ning Fan with just his physical body. The speed of this young man's improvement was too fast. Based on this, he would no longer be a match for Ning Fan in just a short time. Zhou Ming, you're very strong. You can fight against me until now. With your Jade Life Realm physical body, you can fight against Divine Transformation Realm cultivators in the External Endless Sea. However, you can't defeat me. You don't even have a Divine Transformation Realm body technique that you can use. If I use the 7 killing Gui technique that my mistress taught me, you will definitely lose. Ning Fan knew that what Stone Warrior said was the truth. It was exactly because he lacked Divine Transformation Realm techniques that he took great pains to cultivate the second finger of the sword finger. Looking at the dot of golden light on the tip of his finger, he remained silent. He no longer deliberately pursued the second finger. Instead, he stood upside down on the surface of the sea, feeling the sea breeze and pondering. What he was pondering was what was the heaven. After a day of fighting, he vaguely understood that as long as he could find the heaven, he would be able to shatter it and collapse it with a single finger. His right eye moved. Above the surface of the sea, His devil intent turned into a devil mountain with monstrous black chi. Standing on the peak of the mountain, Ningfan dispersed his magic power and aura force. His heart was as calm as still water. He raised his head calmly and looked at the sky. He vaguely understood something. The slightest mistake could lead to a great loss. The heaven was originally invisible. How could it collapse the heaven? He could see the sky above his head, but he could not feel the veins in it. He was not anxious. Instead, he calmed his mind and sorted out the veins in his mind. He gazed at the boundless sea and suddenly felt emotional. What is missing in this sea? What is missing in this heaven? The Yuanyao world was a pitch-black world. Even though there were countless stars shining brightly, it was still pitch black. The ink-like seawater turned into a trace of enlightenment and grew rapidly in Ningfan's mind. At this moment, he suddenly raised his head and looked at the sky. The heaven is originally formless. How can it contain things? Where the stars are, it is the heaven. However, the stars are not enough. Where the moon is, it is the heaven. However, the moon is also not enough. Among the sun, moon, and stars, the most venerable one is the sun. This sun might represent the heaven. The sun is the saint, the moon is the emperor, and the stars are the fiend gods. A certain chant that Luo Yu had imparted to him in the past resounded in his mind for no reason. There is a fish in the northern ocean whose name is Koan. There is a saint in the northern ocean whose name is Hun Koan. There is a sun in the northern ocean whose name is In Rong. There is a thunder in the northern ocean whose name is Lei Lai. This chant had dissolved the power of Bifeiting's ice sun in the past. However, now it began to condense along with the movement of his heaven primordial realm. A red sun slowly rose from the horizon of the endless sea. It was the sun that was formed from the primordial power of heaven and earth. The heaven can't collapse. However, if I collapse the sun, can I make the heaven collapse? Once this thought arose in his mind, it was hard to erase it. Standing on the peak of the Devil Mountain, Ningfan looked at the sun that had risen halfway to the sky. However, it was on the verge of collapse. The primordial power of heaven and earth condensed into a sun was not enough. The sun has the heaven's might. The heaven's might is hard to imitate. He bent his finger, as if he was grabbing something in the void, and recited the mysterious chant. As his devil intent moved, a trace of true yang power was extracted from the heaven and earth by Ningfan out of nowhere. Go. He flicked his finger and the true yang power went into the red sun. The red sun immediately turned black. The black sun rose to the sky. Every time it rose a little, the heaven primordial realm's power would slowly condense into traces of heavenly spiritual power. Primordial realm's power belonged to nascent soul realm's power. Heavenly spiritual power belonged to spirit severing realm's power. The black sun hung in the sky. The black sunlight was like the arrival of doomsday. The heaven is formless. Then, I will use the power of the broken sun to collapse the heaven. At this moment, Ningfan leaped into the sky and walked towards the giant stone soldier. He touched the black sunlight, and it listened to his command. His fingertips slid across the sunlight. It was his first time touching the heavenly spiritual power that he used himself. Whether I succeed or not, it all depends on this finger. Fight me. That's my wish. The stone soldier's eyes were filled with battle intent. The black sun that was hanging in the sky gave him a strong sense of danger. He could not see through the technique, but it was definitely not ordinary. He wanted to fight. The giant stone soldier pointed his finger. 7 blood-red stars appeared in the sky one after another. The 7 stars connected, and the power of the 7 stars turned into 7 rays of bloody light that fell from the sky and condensed on the giant stone soldier's finger. The power of this finger was a few times stronger than Yen Zhongzi's 7 harmonies palm. This finger had once killed a spirit-severing realm expert with a single finger. This technique was classified as a spirit-severing realm technique. It turned the technique into a star, and used the star to condense the heavenly spiritual power. However, the star was inferior to the moon, and the moon was inferior to the sun. Before the black sun, even the 7 blood-red stars trembled slightly. The stars were inferior to the sun when they were using the same technique. You can't defeat me, unless you are a spirit-severing realm expert. The stone soldier's voice was like thunder, shaking the entire Yuanyao world. Is that so? Ning Fan's tone was cold. As he raised his finger, the golden light at the tip of his finger completely turned dark golden. At this moment, the black sun hanging in the sky was ignited. Black flames rose from the black sun out of nowhere. Below it, raging waves surged up to the sky. The stone soldier was greatly shocked. Only now did he realize that he had misjudged Ning Fan's technique from the beginning to the end. The stone soldier was using the star condensation technique, but Ning Fan was using the sun-shattering technique. When the black sun was ignited to its peak, a wave of shattering power erupted. At this moment, the black sun shattered and turned into a black firestorm, burning all the veins in the sky. As for the sky, it kept collapsing after the veins were burned to ashes. Collapse. 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 The power of shattering the sky was absorbed into the tip of Ning Fan's finger. The black light at the tip of his finger became brighter and brighter. Sky shattering. Although he had just pressed his finger, the black light that penetrated through his finger turned into countless rays and spread out like silk. An unprecedented sense of danger rose like never before, causing the stone soldier to disregard everything and use the Gue technique's 7-killing technique. His hollow eyes were filled with shock and madness. What was shocking was Ning Fan's move of shattering the sky. What was crazy was that if he couldn't withstand this finger, he would be gravely injured or even killed. The blood-red light that could melt everything was immediately torn into pieces and dissipated when it came into contact with the threads of black light. The stone soldier was shocked. His strongest technique could only withstand less than 30% of the black light's power. The blood armor around his body resisted with all his might. However, under the black light, the blood armor was torn into pieces as soon as it came into contact with the black light. The remaining power of the black light approached Stone Soldier's body. Whenever his body came into contact with the black light, it would immediately be torn into pieces. His 700 jong body was completely torn apart in just a moment. Countless black lines wrapped around Stone Soldier's body like a cocoon. In the end, it stopped tearing him apart. However, Stone Soldier was already dumbfounded. Of course, it was because Ning Fan stopped the technique in time to avoid harming his life. If Ning Fan wanted to, he could have pressed an inch more and Stone Soldier would have died. I've lost. Stone Soldier, who was born to fight, revealed a bitter smile. The ant that could only last 3 breaths in front of him had now become a ruthless person that could kill him. A late nascent soul realm cultivator, defeating a spirit-severing realm cultivator. If this matter were to be spread out, even early spirit-severing realm cultivators in the external endless sea would retreat when they see Ning Fan. The second finger has succeeded. However, the side effect seems to be a little big. A trace of black blood flowed down from the corner of Ning Fan's mouth. However, his eyes were filled with excitement. Stone Soldier was the first spirit-severing realm cultivator that he defeated with his own strength. If Stone Soldier could be ranked in the top 5 in the external endless sea, Ning Fan's finger would at least be unable to withstand 8 spirit-severing realm cultivators of the external endless sea. He must die. Chapter 231. The second finger of the sword finger could be considered to have been successfully cultivated. Although there were still many flaws, he would also be harmed if he harmed the enemy. A few days later, Ning Fan had recognized the 7 pieces of silver armor as their master. In the Yuanyao world, he looked like a heavenly deity with his silver armor and the black feathers of the wind thunder wings, which added a strange demonic chi to his appearance. With a thought, the 7 pieces of spirit equipment and the wind thunder wings returned to his body. With a thought, Ning Fan returned to his silver armor and black feathers attire in the silver light. Wind. The female corpse's eyes sparkled while Stone Warrior looked at Ning Fan, who was armed to the teeth and felt a little depressed. It's a complete set of spirit equipment. A complete set of low-grade Earth Profound spirit equipment is even more expensive than a single peak grade Earth Profound spirit equipment. It's obvious that Su Russian wants to befriend you. Zhou Ming, what did you do to move Su Russian to please you? Stone Warrior faintly felt that he had missed a lot of things when he was sealed in the stone puppet. Killing. Su Russian took a fancy to my killing ability. Ning Fan did not tell him the reason for the Devil Luo Mountain. In the beginning, Su Rushan wanted to befriend him to please him because he wanted to kill a wild beast. After that, Su Rushan's attitude changed drastically. He almost agreed to all of Ning Fan's requests. The reason was probably because of the mysterious totem, Devil Luo Mountain. However, there was no need to tell Stone Warrior about this. However, Stone Warrior felt the atmosphere in front of Ning Fan, who was fully equipped. Ning Fan, who was at the Jade Life Realm, could fight against Stone Warrior. Ning Fan, who had comprehended the second finger of the sword finger, could even kill Stone Warrior if he damaged himself. After obtaining the Silver Spirit equipment, Ning Fan's strength increased by a few times. Strength, magic power, speed and defense. This set of spirit equipment was tailor-made for immortal martial cultivators. It was not a robe but an armor. Body cultivators were the most suitable for this set of spirit equipment. At this moment, Stone Warrior suddenly had an illusion. Ning Fan, who was wearing silver armor, was strong enough to withstand his 7-kill Gui technique with his physical body. Moreover, when this set of spirit equipment was activated, it seemed to have some kind of attack method. Silver armor and black feathers, but it seemed to be missing a weapon. Ning Fan's eyes moved. He could feel that the spirit formation of the 7 spirit equipment was activated. His ability to absorb heaven and earth primordial force immediately doubled. Originally, Ning Fan's cultivation base was not strong enough to transform his primordial force into heavenly spiritual force to display a spirit-severing divine ability. However, with the help of the spirit formation, Ning Fan's heart had a feeling that he could catch the heavenly spirit power that was drifting in the heaven and earth. He remembered that Su Rushan once said that if he wore the full set of silver spirit equipment, he would be able to shoot out a blade of the sky spirit. Condense. He stretched out his hand and made a grabbing motion. As he did so, a silver vortex was formed at the center of his palm. Traces of heavenly spiritual force were peeled off like silk from cocoons. Slowly, they condensed into a silver snake spear that was 18 zhang long. Holding the dazzling silver light in his palm, Ning Fan's forehead was covered with sweat. This silver spear was terrifying. If he was not careful and suffered a backlash, this silver spear would be enough to kill him, who had not yet reached the soul formation stage. Silver armor, black feathers, and silver spear. His appearance was very similar to the divine generals of the ancient heavenly courts. Seeing the appearance of the silver spear, the Stone Warrior's empty eye sockets were filled with a sigh. I won't be able to withstand this spear. The power of this spear is even stronger than the incomplete heaven collapsing finger. The strength of the Stone Warrior and Su Rushan was almost the same. Su Rushan claimed that if Ning Fan recognized him as the master of the silver spirit equipment, even he would not be willing to become Ning Fan's enemy, because even Su Rushan would not be able to withstand a strike from this silver spear. What a powerful force! Ning Fan felt that all of his strength was being drained and channeled into the silver spear. If this spear was thrown out, the mountains and rivers within the radius of tens of thousands of li would immediately be razed to the ground, and all living beings would be killed. After dispersing the silver vortex in his palm and the silver spear, Ning Fan withdrew his spiritual sense and the spirit armor. He landed on the ground and calculated the time. It seemed like he was 3 days late to the auction. But it didn't matter. The first few days of the auction were mostly core realm and nascent realm auctions. The last grand cultivator auction had yet to begin. Ning Fan wondered if Su Yao had bought the Dao fruit in the auction. He took out 2 fourth revolution pills and consumed them. One was golden while the other was silver. Both of them were the pills given by Su Rushan. The golden pill was the heart essence pill, which could recover a large amount of magical power. The silver pill was the silver blood pill, which could recover injuries and strength. After keeping the stone warriors and stone puppets, Ning Fan held the female corpse and his realm power flashed. Weiliang, it's time to go. As the name suggested, the heavenly abode was an auction house that was transformed from a heavenly abode magical treasure. The last auction of the nascent realm auction was being held in this place. The venue was still closed and people could only leave but not enter. From time to time, people would bid for treasures and leave the Pleasure Immortal Island cautiously. Grand cultivators were not forbidden from entering. Yulong had been waiting here for a long time. When he saw Ningfan, he immediately led Ningfan and the female corpse into the heavenly abode respectfully. Ningfan's gaze fell upon the interior of the heavenly abode, and he was secretly surprised. This Su Russian's foundation was not weak. He could even use a heavenly abode magical treasure as an auction house. If Ningfan was not mistaken, this heavenly abode magical treasure should be forged by the same person as the golden house that Su Russian used. The forging technique was not inferior to his cauldron ring. One should know that Ningfan's refining technique was inherited from the ancient chaos realm, before he reached the void fragmentation realm. Since this person could forge heavenly abode magical treasures, he was definitely not a nobody in the endless sea. I heard that one of the 7 venerated beings in the internal sea is the old ancestor of the heavenly abode, Old Man Dong Su. This person is proficient in the art of mechanisms and puppets. He is an expert in refining heavenly abode magical treasures and the Tao of divination. The devil appraisal ranking was ranked by him based on his divination ability. This person is elusive and unique. It is said that there are less than 10 people in the endless sea who know his appearance. If I'm not mistaken, he is the only one who can forge heavenly abode magical treasures in the endless sea. As for Venerable Jew of the Giant Devil clan, he probably has a good relationship with these 2 old ancestors since he could obtain Old Man Dong Su's magical treasures. That's why Su Russian, who is a subordinate of the Giant Devil clan, could possess 2 heavenly abode magical treasures. After thinking for a while, Ningfan deduced that the Giant Devil clan and the heavenly abode had a good relationship. Ningfan stopped pondering and asked Yulong, "Have you found out the information that I asked you to gather?" "My lord, according to my investigation, there are at least 17 great cultivators of the external endless sea and 74 great cultivators of the internal sea, who are above the divine transformation realm participating in this auction. Among them are old ancestor Su Russian, Yen Zhongza of the Cloud Treading sect and Zuotong of the Purple Charm sect. However, due to some reasons, old ancestors had to leave in advance. How many divine transformation realm cultivators of the internal sea have come? On the surface, I only found out about 4 of them. I don't know about those who are hiding in the dark." The 4 divine transformation realm cultivators are Zhou Qi, the divine transformation realm elder of the Zhou clan who was brought by the prince of the Zhou clan. Guan Xiong, the 3rd elder of the Sword Island, the sword slave. Guan Xiong, the 3rd elder of the Demon Sealing Palace, Taoist Purple Gu, and the vice sect master of the Black Buddha sect, Monk Xieguang. My lord has specially instructed me to pay attention to the people of the Demon Sealing Palace and the Black Buddha sect if they come. I have collected quite a lot of information about these 2 divine transformation realm cultivators, and they didn't notice me. As for the divine transformation realm cauldron, this woman's background is mysterious. Please forgive me, my lord. I couldn't find out anything about her. I only know that she doesn't seem suitable to be plucked. Putting aside the Black Buddha sect, the Zhou clan of the Internal Sea, the Sword Island and the Demon Sealing Palace, 3 out of the 7 venerated forces have come. If this auction is just about the secret realm of the broken world, there's no need for divine transformation realm cultivators to come personally. However, if it's just about the divine transformation realm cauldron, it's a little unreasonable for it to attract so many divine transformation realm cultivators. After all, other than the Black Buddha sect, none of the divine transformation realm cultivators of the internal sea came here. It's as if they sensed the scent of danger and didn't dare to come close. Perhaps Su Russian didn't lie to me. That divine transformation realm cauldron seems to have some problems with its identity. Ningfan knitted his brows. The reason why he asked Yulong to gather information about the auction was obviously because of the divine transformation realm cauldron. If he can obtain this cauldron, he could at least increase his magic power by 500 units. Even though he knew that there was something wrong with the cauldron's background, he still could not help but be tempted by it. When he stopped walking, the female corpse and Yulong naturally stopped as well. When Ningfan's gaze swept across Yulong's body, his eyes turned cold. "Yulong, you've been plotted against. Sure enough, it's still too much for you to investigate the background of a divine transformation realm old monster with your early nascent soul realm cultivation base. What? Yulong was inwardly shocked. He did not feel that he had been plotted against. Ning Fan then pointed his finger at Yulong's glabella and touched his sea of consciousness. Immediately his primordial force trembled and Yulong's body could not move at all. He was inwardly shocked by the venerated lord's unimaginable means. He was able to suppress me just by controlling the primordial force of heaven and earth. Yulong's expression changed drastically when he saw Ning Fan drawing out 4 spirit sense imprints from his sea of consciousness. The 4 spirit sense imprints were naturally left behind by the 4 divine transformation realm experts. It was impossible for the 4 of them to not leave something behind after being probed by a mere nascent soul realm junior. The reason why they did not kill Yulong was because they were slightly afraid of Zhou Ming, who was behind Yulong. The imprints were left behind as a warning. Among the 4 spirit sense imprints, one of them was left behind by the Zhou clan. One of them was like a sword left behind by the Sword Island. The other one was like demonic power. This spirit sense was quite vicious. It could shatter Yulong's sea of consciousness and kill him instantly. This spirit sense was left behind by the Demon Sealing sect. It seemed like the divine transformation realm experts of the Demon Sealing sect were not very afraid of Zhou Ming. Moreover, this spirit sense had triggered a drop of purple qi in Ning Fan's all-heaven relic. That qi was left behind when he killed the eagle crane. Since it could trigger this reaction, it was most likely left behind by the divine transformation realm experts of the Demon Sealing sect who came to the external endless sea. As for the spirit sense imprint that looked like a Buddha or a devil, it was left behind by the divine transformation realm expert of the Black Buddha sect. This spirit sense imprint expressed its hostility towards Ning Fan without any reservation. When it was imprinted in Yulong's sea of consciousness, it had already planted a deadly poison in him. Moreover, when Ning Fan pulled out the vicious spirit sense, he heard a cold sneer from it. "I am Xieguang. You are dead meat." Such hostility was probably because Xieguang had found out that it was Ning Fan who killed the 5 unsightly monks of his sect. However, be it the vicious spirit sense of the Demon Sealing sect or the Black Buddha sect, all of them were easily extracted by Ning Fan. Now that he already had the strength to fight against a divine transformation realm expert, it was naturally not difficult for him to do so. 4 gray flames rose from his fingertips and burned the 4 spirit senses. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light. As for Yulong, he was almost paralyzed on the ground due to fear. I actually fell into the trap of a divine transformation realm old monster unknowingly. How terrifying. If it wasn't for the venerable lord who saved me, I would definitely die. Thank you for saving my life, venerable lord. Yulong shed tears of gratitude. It's nothing. Since you are working for me, I naturally won't let you die in vain. From this incident, Ning Fan could tell that the Zhou clan and Sword Island didn't have any intention to target him, and they didn't attach any importance to him. The Demon Sealing sect didn't seem to realize that it was him who had killed the eagle crane. Or perhaps, they didn't care about the death of the eagle crane at all. As for the Black Buddha sect, they had clearly shown their hostility towards him. The reason why he did not make a move on the island was most likely because Evil Light Monk had heard that Su Rushan was on good terms with him and feared Su Rushan's influence. Once he left Joyous Union Island, Evil Light Monk would kill him. However, that was something to be done after the trip to the Mystic Realm. Moreover, he was not afraid of Evil Light Monk at all. If he has the chance, he would like to take the opportunity to eliminate Evil Light Monk and Daoist Purple Goo. There were 4 floors in the Grotto Heaven Pavilion. The first floor was for Golden Core cultivators, the second floor was for Nascent Soul cultivators, the third floor was for Grand cultivators, and the fourth floor was for Soul Formation cultivators. The pill level auction had ended, and the first floor was empty. Ning Fan's location was on the 3rd floor. Every great cultivator had their own room, and they could isolate the outside world's divine sense. Moreover, one needed to have the Jade token to enter the corresponding room. Outsiders were not allowed to enter. What surprised Ning Fan was that there were 2 people already seated in his room. They were Su Qiuling and a dirty old man. Yulong's eyes were filled with surprise when he saw someone barging into his lord's room. When he went to welcome Ning Fan, there was no one in the room. My lord, these 2 people. Yu Long was a little worried that Ning Fan would blame him for not doing his job well. It's all right. They are acquaintances. Ning Fan waved his hand, indicating that it was all right. It was not surprising that Su Russian's daughter had a way to enter the rooms of other cultivators. Miss Su, is there anything that you need from me today? Ning Fan sat leisurely and drank his tea. His expression remained unchanged, but his heart was filled with astonishment. The one who was shocked was naturally not Su Qiuling, but the dirty old man beside her. His qi showed that he was at the early nascent soul realm. However, if Ning Fan was not mistaken, he should be at the peak divine transformation realm. One of the 7 venerated beings of the internal sea. Could he be the venerated giant of the giant devil clan? Something is not right. There is no trace of body refinement on his body. Everyone knows how strong a venerated giant's body refinement is. What surprised Ning Fan the most was that this person's eyes were like a deep whirlpool. One must never make eye contact with his eyes. Once you make eye contact with his eyes, your mind would immediately be sucked into that whirlpool and be destroyed. Why did Su Qiuling bring such an expert to look for me? Young Master Zhou, this is Qiuling's master. Qiuling learned gardening from her. She said that she wanted to meet you. Hence, Qiuling took the liberty to bring her here. I hope young master won't be offended. Judging from Su Qiuling's expression, it seemed like she did not know that her master was neither an early nascent soul realm, nor a gardening master, but one of the 7 venerated beings of the internal sea. It makes sense. If the 7 venerated beings of the internal sea conceal their cultivation base, no one would be able to see through them, unless they are all at the peak divine transformation realm. Perhaps even Su Russian did not know that there was a terrifying person living in his courtyard. I'm Shui Yi. Greetings to fellow Taoist Zhou Ming. As the saying goes, a reputation is not as good as meeting you in person. TSK. Fellow Taoist, you have good composure. Even after seeing this old man's appearance, you can still drink tea calmly. To outsiders, his words might be praising Ning Fan for not judging a book by its cover, and for not chasing the old man away just because he was dirty. However, between Ning Fan and the elderly man, these words were clearly Shui Ye's praise for Ning Fan. Despite facing one of the 7 venerables of the internal endless sea, Xiaochen could still drink tea freely. If he was not extremely bold, then he must have some tricks up his sleeve to not fear the 7 venerables. It was true that Ning Fan looked calm on the outside. As a matter of fact, he would immediately flee into the Yuan Yao world once the wind blows in the wrong direction. Among the venerated 7 of the internal endless sea, perhaps venerated giant was the only one who had a good relationship with him. The one who had bad karma with him should be the demon venerable of the demon sealing hall. Who was this venerable one? Water. Whole void. Taking half from the Dongshu was the water karma. If he was an insightful void cultivator, this person should have a friendship with venerable giant. In that case, he wasn't his enemy? However, he still could not understand why a dignified Dong Su venerate would come to the external endless sea instead of staying in the internal endless sea. Junior Zhou Ming greets Lord Dongshu. I wonder what senior wants from me? Ning Fan asked using telepathy. Kid, you're quite smart to have guessed my identity. Why is he looking for you? This. I have to think about it carefully. It seems like he has taken a fancy to your heavenly abode magical treasure and world treasure, and wants to kill you to snatch them? At this moment, Ning Fan's heart was filled with an extreme sense of crisis. It was as if Dong Su was going to kill him at the next moment. But a moment later, the dirty old man scratched his head and shook his head. No. I have plenty of abode treasures. Why would I want yours? As for your world treasure, it belongs to the Lost World Palace. If you dare to snatch it, I won't dare to take it. Let me think. Oh, I remember now. The old man shook his head. Suddenly his eyes lit up. He pointed at Ning Fan and said something shocking. The reason why this old man is looking for you is to tell you that you, Ning Fan, must never attain the divine transformation realm in this lifetime. Otherwise, you will definitely die. Old man Dong Su actually knew Ning Fan's real name. Chapter 232. Oh. Can Senior calculate this junior's name? Ningfan smiled bitterly in his heart. This all-heaven relic seemed to be unable to block the divination of venerated Dong Su. Although he smiled bitterly, there was not a hint of surprise on his face. Besides, according to his calculations, Dong Su and Venerable Giant should be friends. Since he was related to the Giant Devil clan, Venerable Giant would not harm him. Even if this person really wanted to harm him, he could escape into the Yuan Yao world and avoid danger. If he were to risk his life, Ningfan still had a rogue devil. Even if Ningfan did not put his life on the line, he still had the Yuan Yao jade with him. Anyone with a certain status would understand the meaning of this jade. He, Ningfan, was Bei Xiaoman's husband. Dong Su narrowed his eyes and burst into laughter. Good willpower. When I was at your age, I was still fighting fiercely with Gold Core Realm cultivators for treasures. But you are already able to send Yanzhongzi flying with a single punch. What an interesting child. Demon blood, devil marks, divine force, the star of imperial thunder, the star of wood palm, and especially the star of earth. These are the things that old man Zhu Qing has been searching for his entire life. Don't worry, this old man is Dong Su and I don't have any enmity towards you. This old man has concealed his identity and hid in this place to live a carefree life. I have taken this little girl as my disciple. She doesn't know my identity, not even that Su Russian. Dong Su old man's eyes could not help but look at Ningfan. The more he looked at him, the more curious he became. Previously, this old man lied about killing people and stealing their treasures to scare you. Do you know why? I don't know. Ningfan smiled and drank his tea. This is revenge. A few days ago, you drew the spirit of the peninsula from Acacia Island, giving this old man a fright. I thought it was a void fragmentation realm expert of the Rain Palace who came to scold me for leaving the internal sea without permission. TSK 7 venerated beings of the internal sea. Leaving the internal sea without permission is a serious crime. Tell me, did you give me a fright? This old man pinched his fingers and divined that the child who was making a fuss on the island was you. Sorry for my rudeness. Ningfan smiled bitterly. What do you mean by getting shot while lying down? He had extracted an island soul, but he had extracted an internal sea patriarch who was hiding here. In that case, he would have to be careful when he extracted the soul of the earth in the future. What if a void refinement realm or void fragmentation realm expert, who lived in seclusion, were drawn out? It would still be troublesome for them before their strength reached a certain level. In other words, if the one in front of him was not Dong Su, but the monster venerable of the demon sealing sect, he would be in great trouble. Soul extraction, divine transformation, and void fragmentation realm techniques. You have mastered 2 out of the 3 techniques. Your future in this life is limitless. However, I will still say the same thing. You must never advance to the divine transformation realm. Otherwise, you will certainly die. Oh, why? Ningfan's eyelids twitched. Because you are a true demon inverse cultivator. There was only the theory of devil transformation, not God transformation. As for your luck, it's very strange. I can't see through it. Demonization? Fate. Ningfan's eyes turned solemn. It seems like this Dong Su geezer really has something in his mind. This was the first time he heard of the term devil transformation. As for the term fate, it was mentioned briefly in Ancient Chaos's memories. However, it was actually a concept that belonged to the true immortal realm. Thus, it was not mentioned in detail. As for Dong Su, it seemed like he knew a lot about the word fate. The heavenly fate is divided into 7 colors. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple. Red is the end and purple is the extreme. Mortals without fate would have red vein opening realm and purple void fragmentation realm. The fate of ordinary nascent soul realm cultivators would be green. Every time they advanced to the divine transformation realm, the green color of their fate would become deeper. As for fellow Taoist, even though your fate is also green, it will become yellow when you advance to the divine transformation realm. Become yellow? What do you mean? In other words, due to certain reasons, fellow Taoist's fate has been lost. When your cultivation level increases, your fate will be lost. If I am not wrong, fellow Taoist was originally a mortal without fate. However, After you obtained a great opportunity, your fate rose all the way to the purple chi. However, I don't know why this purple chi is getting worse and worse. As your cultivation level increases, your fate will gradually disappear. It's as if someone is scheming against you in the unseen world to take away your fate. If you advance to the void fragmentation realm, your fate will fall completely. At that time, it might be the time when you die. Ning Fan frowned but did not comment. What this Dong Su said was getting more and more mysterious. However, it seemed like it was not nonsense. He was originally immortal. After he obtained the Yin-Yang locket and inherited the memories of the ancient Chaos Immortal Emperor, his fate seemed to be at its peak. Walking in 7 Apricot City, he could obtain Jade Royal Grass, Coiling Devil Grass and Dao fruits from killing Gold Core Realm cultivators. The higher his cultivation level, the more troubles he would face. His luck seemed to be getting worse as well. After killing so many nascent Soul Realm cultivators, he had yet to obtain a Dao fruit. It seemed like what this Dong Su said made a lot of sense. Did I really lose my fate? If I lost it, who was the one who schemed against me? What this old man doesn't understand the most is fellow Taoist's fate. Fellow Taoist's bone age is only 340 years old, but your fate has lasted for 1,300 years. The first 1,000 years is your fate of death. This is the first time I've seen something that doesn't match your lifespan. Speaking of which, this situation is similar to the rumors about the sleeping demons in the demon spirit land. The lifespan of a demon general is only a few thousand years, but they can sleep for hundreds of thousands of years without losing their lifespan. However, fellow Taoist isn't a demon general. This is a little strange, Dong Su murmured to himself. Ning Fan found it harder and harder to understand the mysterious language. He shook his head slightly. Could it be that this Dong Su came to find me just to talk nonsense? Senior, aren't you going to talk about your business? Ning Fan reminded helplessly. Ah, right. This old man has forgotten that it's just a trivial matter. Whether you die or not has nothing to do with me. I came to find you because I want to ask you to treat my disciple's illness. You should have noticed the abnormality in Qiuling's body, right? Dong Su's eyes narrowed and the crazed expression on his face disappeared. I saw something. This girl was born with a metal deficiency and her fate was to die at the age of 16. However, she managed to live until the peak of Gold Core Realm. It's because someone used an extremely domineering ancient sword to shatter the metal spiritual energy into sword chi, and infused it into her body, locking her life veins. I was thinking that no matter how capable Su Rushan was, he wouldn't be able to find such a powerful sword chi. If it's Senior Dong Su's doing, then everything would make sense. However, I have a question. Why did Senior take Qiuling as your disciple, and why did you use your sword chi to save her life? I was struck by a sudden impulse and felt extremely bored. Dong Su's answer made Ning Fan not know whether to laugh or cry. It was true that Dong Su had nothing better to do than to accept a disciple. However, it was true that he wanted to save her. He loved flowers and so did Su Qiuling. That was why he took her as his disciple. However, he found out that she was born with a poor life. She was born with a metal deficiency because of Su Rushan's magnetic force. Her life was taken away when she was still in her mother's body. Thus, Dong Su went to the Sword Island and pestered Venerated Sword. In the end, he took away an ancient sword and shattered it into pieces before infusing it into Su Qiuling's body. However, this was not a long-term solution. Not long after that, Su Qiuling's body would not be able to withstand the sword force. At that time, she would either die from the sword force of the ancient sword or her fate. Su Rushan, who was muddle-headed, did not even know that his beloved daughter was about to die. Su Qiuling, who had a short life, had naturally developed a character that saw through the mortal world. She had been hiding this matter. As for Dong Su, although he did not tell Su Qiuling his true identity, he had performed a divination for her. The divination showed that the man who could move Su Qiuling's heart was the person who could save her. Dong Su also did not know how to save her. However, he had absolute faith in his divination. His cultivation base was not the highest in the Rain world. However, in terms of the Tao of divination, he was proud to be the best in the Rain world. In his opinion, Ning Fan was the person who was destined to save Su Qiuling. However, Dong Su helplessly realized that although he could see through Ning Fan's cultivation base, he could not see through Ning Fan's fate. He also did not know what methods Ning Fan had to save Su Qiuling. The spiritual power of this sword is one of the ancient swords that the old man on the Sword Island has collected. One of the fragments was obtained by the ancient heavenly court. It should be a fragment of one of the 4 immortal execution swords. If I'm not mistaken, it might be a fragment of the immortal trapping sword. If you save Qiuling, this sword will naturally belong to you. It will greatly benefit your sword consciousness and sword sense. In return, I can perform a divination for you with the power of my immortal blood. I can even peek at the heavenly secrets above the 4 heavens. Dong Su's deep and profound eyes suddenly flashed with a hint of blood red. Ning Fan's mind shuddered. He finally understood why Dong Su gave him such a mysterious feeling. Within his eyes, sealed within his forehead, was a drop of blood of a true immortal. The reason why he could see the luck that cultivators couldn't, and the reason why he could become the #1 fortune teller in the rain world was all because of this drop of true immortal's blood. The amount of spiritual power contained in this drop of blood was almost more boundless than all the magic power of an early divine transformation cultivator. This blood had been refined by Dongshu for 1,000 years and could no longer change owners. However, if this blood was used up, it could be used to divine the mysteries of heaven. It was possible to calculate the enemy of the old devil. It was possible to divine his own background. It was possible to divine Bright Sparrow's perfected immortal enemy. In fact, if he really had a problem with his fate, he could calculate the reason and find out who was plotting against him. Ning Fan and Dong Su had been communicating with each other through telepathy. The others naturally did not know what they were talking about. Yulong did not dare to interrupt. The female corpse only had Ning Fan in her eyes. Su Qiuling, on the other hand, was secretly nervous. She was worried about what her master was talking about with Ning Fan. Eventually, the two of them stopped sending voice transmissions, and a serious expression appeared on Dong Su's face. Are you willing to marry Ling and save her from the sea of suffering? If you are willing, this old man can help you obtain the inheritance of Mo Luo from old man Ju Qing. If you are willing, this old man can help you divine the heavenly secret by consuming the blood of a perfected immortal. If you are willing, this old man can refine a treasure for you. Even void fragmentation realm old monsters won't be able to see through your background, let alone divine transformation realm experts. If you are willing, this old man can teach you all my abilities. If you are willing, this old man can give you 1,000 heavenly dwelling treasures and 17 divine transformation realm puppets, giving you the power to dominate the internal endless sea. If you are willing, this old man can bring you to explore the internal endless sea and Xiao country to find enough items to ensure that your luck won't disperse when you reach the divine transformation realm. If you are willing, this old man can even give you 1/3 of the map of the Thunder Emperor's tomb. This item is coveted by all divine transformation realm experts in the internal endless sea. It contains the inheritance of Thunder Emperor Buzhou. Are you willing to marry Ling, and protect her from death? At this moment, the aura force of the Dong Su realm was unreachable in this small room. Su Qiuling found it hard to believe that her respected master was not an early nascent soul realm cultivator, but an expert who was countless times stronger than her father. Yulong's nascent soul was on the verge of breaking. Under this aura force, he was as small as an ant. After hearing about the various benefits of the Dong Su realm, Yulong's eyes were filled with passion. If he could gain the favor of the Dong Su realm, he would be bestowed with abilities, magical treasures, and be guaranteed to advance to the divine transformation realm. With the protection of 17 divine transformation realm puppets, he would be able to dominate the internal endless sea. Invincible in the external endless sea, only the female corpse was looking at Ning Fan. As for Ning Fan, he was smiling and drinking his tea without any ripples. He was already surprised from the very beginning. No one in the outside world knew that at this moment, the 7 venerated beings of the internal endless sea gave Ning Fan a great temptation. However, this temptation was actually not much to Ning Fan. After all, he had the memories of ancient chaos and his master was the old devil, the deacon of the 4 seas. He was an existence that the Rain Sovereign did not dare to offend. As for the abilities of the Dongsu realm, Ningfan did not attach much importance to them. Senior can protect me at the Divine Transformation realm, but I want to protect you at the Void Refinement realm. Senior is stuck at the peak Divine Transformation realm, and you are only half a step away from the Void Refinement realm. Do you know why you can't achieve this half a step? About that. I am giving you benefits now. I am willing to save her. Besides, I can not only save her but also marry her. I can also help you break through to the Void Refinement realm. What? You can help me break through to the Void Refinement realm. How is this possible? I have been stuck at this bottleneck for more than 1,000 years. The Dongsu realm was a little confused. Originally, he was giving Ningfan benefits. Why did Ningfan promise him benefits now? This brat who hasn't even grown his pubic hair can help me break through to the Void Refinement realm? What a joke. Does he have the comprehension of the void power? Or will he concoct a 6th revolution pill to help me break through to the next realm? Besides, why did this brat suddenly start to help me? What is he planning? Comprehension of the void, huh? Ningfan smiled. Then he imprinted ancient chaos memories on the usage of the void power into Dongsu's mind. Due to his insufficient cultivation base, he could not comprehend these insights. Reading these insights was like reading the words of the demon race that he did not know. He knew what they were, but he did not know why. However, as soon as Dongsu read the contents of the jade slip, his expression changed drastically. He was different from Ningfan. He had been stuck at the peak Divine Transformation realm for 1,000 years. Thus he had a lot of understanding of the void power. However, his understanding was far from finding the correct direction. This insight gave Dongsu a direction. However, because it was only half of it, it was not complete. With this jade slip, Dongsu could see the direction to break through to the next realm. If he has the complete jade slip, he might even have the chance to touch the bottleneck of the Void Refinement realm. Once he touches the bottleneck, he could try to break through to the next realm. As for the success rate and the pills he needs, it was a problem that he would consider later. Currently, Dongsu had not even found the threshold of the Void Refinement realm. Why would he need to think about the method to break through to the next realm? Dongsu swallowed his saliva. Originally, he had promised Ningfan some benefits. Now, however, he was rendered speechless by Ningfan's jade slip. My goodness! What kind of expert's insight is this? Even Dongsu, who had studied the void power for 1,000 years, could roughly understand the usage of the void power by reading between the lines. However, the more he read the contents of the jade slip, the more perplexed he was feeling. After clearing all of his perplexity, he could start to break through to the Void Refinement realm. A little friend. Say it. What are your conditions? Can you give me the complete jade slip? Dongsu had completely forgotten how high-spirited he was just now. It was the first time that one of the 7 venerated beings of the internal sea showed a flattering expression towards Ningfan. He could tell that what Ningfan imprinted was his memory. Memory was a thing that could be searched through one's soul. However, what he saw would definitely be incomplete. It would be a pity if he missed something. First of all, you have to keep the information about me a secret. Secondly, I'm very interested in the item that can block void fragmentation realm senses. Other than the immortal blood divination, I also want you to help me 3 times. 1,000 heavenly dwelling treasures and 17 divine transformation realm spiritual puppets. I naturally need them. I will not miss a single one of the benefits that you promised me. I will give you all of them. Make a great heart devil oath and agree to my request. Then you will give me the other half of the jade slip. Ningfan smiled faintly. It was not Dongsu who was negotiating with him. It was him who was negotiating with Dongsu. This person's divination technique, the Tao of Fate, the perception of heavenly dwelling treasures, and the secret technique of spiritual puppets really impressed Ningfan. Even with the memories of the ancient chaos, Ningfan was only on par with him. This person is a talented person. A talented person must be recruited. Perhaps in the near future, I will be able to avoid the great calamity with Dongsu's immortal blood divination technique. Dongsu held the jade slip in his hand. His heart was filled with complicated emotions. It would be a lie if he said that he did not want to break through to the void refinement realm. However, he was the one who proposed the conditions to Ning Fan. Why was the situation reversed? Are you willing to marry Ling Er? Dong Su suppressed the desire in his heart. Between breaking through to the void refinement realm and saving Su Qiuling's life, he would choose the latter. He's a good master. It's rare. I, Zhou Ming, have never rejected a woman. Of course, I will not be unwilling. However, Miss Qiuling might not be willing to marry me. But don't worry. Even if we are not officially husband and wife, I have already prepared to save her. However, the sword qi of the broken fragment of the immortal trapping sword is a huge temptation to me. However, this matter needs to be postponed. After we enter the secret realm of the broken world, I will save her. Alright. If that's the case, I can make a heart devil oath. If you can save Ling Er and give me the jade slip, I, Dong Su, will agree to your previous condition. Yulong was stunned. Insightful void. This crazy old man was actually an insightful void realm expert. One of the 7 venerated beings of the internal sea. His values had been overturned. His level was not high enough to understand the conversation between his venerated lord and Dong Su. However, he knew that the so-called supreme being of the internal sea was trying to please and submit to his venerated lord. This world. Isn't it a little too crazy? Chapter 233. In the room, Ning Fan smiled silently while watching the end of the nascent realm auction. As for Dong Su, he smiled bitterly and explained to Su Qiuling about his hidden identity. Su Qiuling would never have thought that the flower master whom she casually acknowledged was actually such a powerful person. What made her even more embarrassed was that her master, who was usually crazy, actually married her to Ning Fan with just a few words. Even though she was not unwilling. But how could a girl's marriage be decided so hastily? She sighed softly. However, when her gaze fell upon Ning Fan's calm smile, her heart trembled. Did I still underestimate this young Master Zhou? He could make my father befriend Uncle Yan. Now he could even make one of the 7 venerated beings of the internal sea lower his head. Moreover, young Master Zhou even taught my master how to break through to the void refinement realm. I can't see through him. It's unbelievable. Su Qiuling blinked her eyelashes and looked at Ning Fan with her cheeks blushing. Ning Fan, who was calm and collected, was really charming. She liked such a calm man. Her father was a devil lord who sold human cauldrons. She had seen too many devils, but none of them were as cool as him. She had a short life and a cold personality. However, she couldn't forget this person and fell in love with him. It was as if she had been longing for him for hundreds of years, and that person had finally arrived. Thus, she gave all her love to him without reservation, even if he couldn't save her. You won't see my old age anymore in your journey, because I'm willing to walk with you in the sky and watch a beautiful scene of blooming flowers. The nascent realm auction was coming to an end. Some precious nascent soul realm magic treasures and pills were also being auctioned. Ning Fan bought all the pills that could increase his cultivation base. Even if he didn't use them, the women in his hometown might. Ordinary nascent soul realm cultivators naturally wouldn't dare to compete with him in the 3rd floor. He did not hide his identity. With the influence of Zhou Ming's name, it was already difficult for him to keep a low profile in the external endless sea. Many nascent soul realm cultivators immediately stopped bidding when they recognized Ning Fan's room. This was prestige. Ning Fan's gaze fell on the 2nd floor. Even though there was a forbidden formation that could block spirit sense, it naturally couldn't stop Ning Fan from probing. Su Yao was frowning slightly. The nascent soul realm Dao fruit that she had been waiting for so long had yet to be auctioned. There were supposed to be 4 Dao fruits in this auction, and they would be sold separately at the beginning, middle, and end of the auction. But as the auction neared its end, there were still no Dao fruits to be auctioned. Su Yao couldn't help but feel slightly anxious. Under his anxious gaze, the last auction item was finally unveiled. The last item is a Dao fruit of an early-stage original level cultivator. Due to certain reasons, my sect can only auction this one Dao fruit. The starting price is 5 million celestial jade. 5 5 million. Su Yao couldn't wait any longer and called out a price. The voice was soft and pleasant to listen to, and those who knew her immediately recognized that the one who called out the price was the Biao sect master. Dao fruits could only be obtained by killing. Among the 10 sects, the Biao sect was the only sect that claimed to be on the righteous path. The disciples of the sect were required to abstain from killing. There were many restrictions on killing people, but as the Biao sect master, she actually came to the demonic sea to buy Dao fruits. This matter was somewhat ironic. Some people snickered, some mocked, and some even fantasized about Su Yao's figure. However, none of this could shake Su Yao's determination. She wanted to get the Dao fruit for her sister, Yin Suqiu. She wanted to help Yin Suqiu form her nascent soul. However, Su Yao slightly underestimated the influence of this Dao fruit. The influence of the 10 sects was not small, but the Biao Immortal Island was an exception. If one offended this sect, as long as they didn't go too far, the sect wouldn't hunt them down. As long as they had enough money, even if they disobeyed Su Yao and snatched the Dao fruit, the Biao Immortal Island wouldn't pursue them. 6 million. 2 million. 6 million. 7 million. A series of bidding sounds rang out one after another. When the price rose to 9 million, the bidding stopped. Because the bidder was actually the person from the 4th floor's south room. I bid 9 million. This voice was hoarse and evil. The moment it rang out, everyone below the peak realm shuddered. It was obviously an ordinary voice, but it seemed to have the power to collapse heaven's primordial qi. The moment the voice rang out, the heaven and earth's primordial qi shook and condensed into countless heavenly spirit threads, shattering the formation light in the room where Su Yao was at. A black monk who was as fat as a mountain sneered and walked out of the room. He looked at Su Yao who was sitting below and licked his lips. This person is the cauldron that little fellow Mi Lian prepared? TSK not bad. He's the type I like. However, Mi Lian died because of you. You should die. The black monk's eyes flashed with evil light. A black Buddha shadow with monstrous evil intent appeared behind him. It was 6 meters tall. The Buddha shadow suddenly dispersed and turned into a black smoke that rolled towards Su Yao. However, only spirit-severing realm experts could see that it wasn't smoke. It was clearly a killing technique that was condensed by traces of black heavenly spirit force. In an instant, the female cultivators of the Biao sect behind Su Yao had cold expressions. The old monsters on the scene all recognized the identity of the person who made the move. This person is a spirit-severing realm old monster. This person is the Black Buddha sect's vice sect lord, Evil Light Monk. This black smoke is the evil smoke technique that Evil Light is most proficient in. Once you are engulfed by it, even a grand cultivator will lose all of his magic power. He can do anything he wants and will be torn apart by the black smoke in an instant. The old monsters who were usually arrogant were as small as ants in front of the spirit-severing realm old monsters. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. A spirit-severing realm cultivator of the inner sea killed the sect lords of the 10 sects of the outer sea. But no one dared to stop him. Su Rushan and Yen Zhongzi were still drinking tea at the blissful summit. They didn't expect that a mere nascent realm auction would actually provoke a spirit-severing realm cultivator. That Evil Light Monk was so arrogant. After being warned by the two of them not to attack Zhou Ming, he vented his anger on the Biao sect. The two of them couldn't solve the nearby fire. They wanted to help, but it was already too late. Meanwhile, the spirit-severing realm cultivators of the other 3 branches had their own thoughts. In the east room, a young man in a silver robe was gently waving his folding fan. His eyes were shining brightly. There was a silver lightning beast embroidered on his robe. This person was a grand cultivator, but his magic power had already reached 8,000 units. This person's qi was not much weaker than Evil Light's. The Zhou family Zhouqing. This person was the favored son of the Zhou family of the Eternal Endless Sea. He was known as the Emperor of the Zhou family. He was the most talented fiend cultivator in the Eternal Endless Sea, and the strongest cultivator below the soul formation stage. In the Eternal Endless Sea, Zhou Qi, a deity transformation cultivator, was there to protect him. It was clear that the Zhou clan thought highly of him. I heard that Zhou Ming offended the Black Buddha sect because of this woman. However, With Su Russian's presence, Xie Guang didn't dare to kill Zhou Ming to vent his anger. Thus he came up with this plan to force Zhou Ming to make a move, so that he could kill Zhou Ming legitimately. Xie Guang is nothing to worry about. Although he is a divine transformation realm expert, he doesn't have any divine intent. Moreover, he became a god through trickery. However, Zhou Ming, he is not a member of my Zhou clan. However, his techniques are not bad. He is the strongest cultivator below the divine transformation realm in the external endless sea. I wonder how many moves he can take from me, and how much magic power I have to use. 3 moves. 1,000 armor. Zhou Qi didn't seem to like talking. Zhou Qi, you overestimate this person. Zhou Qing sneered, but the next moment his gaze turned cold. He is Zhou Ming. In the north room, a big man with a long beard and a red face was wiping a huge sword. The huge sword was glowing with silver light. All of the big man's thoughts were focused on the huge sword. A trace of sword intent couldn't be dissolved. His eyes were like swords and his breath was sharp. A mere nascent realm auction in the outside world couldn't arouse his interest at all. Moreover, when Xie Guang made his move, he didn't even raise his eyebrows. However, when a heaven-shattering sound was heard, his expression changed drastically. He stood up abruptly and looked at the outside of the room in disbelief. This guy, Zhou Ming? What a powerful sword technique. There are no more than 10 people in the entire Sword Island who can withstand a single finger of his. Behind the west room, an old man in purple robe was hugging 2 women in his arms. He closed his eyes and said nothing. When Xie Guang made his move, he only raised his eyelids slightly and sneered. The vice sect lord of the Black Buddha sect. Compared to the divine transformation realm cultivators of my demon sealing sect, he's much weaker. He was disdainful of Xie Guang because he was the 3rd elder of the demon sealing sect. His name was Zigu. However, after Xie Guang made his move, another person made his move, which made him shocked and furious. He could clearly sense that the purple demon chi he planted in the eagle crane's body was in that person's body. At such a close distance he couldn't be wrong. Zhou Ming, you're courting death. Some kind of purple light appeared, and the 2 women beside him suddenly exploded, and turned into thousands of purple gold goo insects. The 2 women weren't humans but goo insects. These insects were called purple devourer. Although they were small, a mature one could bite a gold core realm cultivator to death. 100 of them could devour a nascent soul realm cultivator, and 10,000 of them could devour a divine transformation realm cultivator. Taoist Zigu had 17,000 of these insects. Ordinary divine transformation realm cultivators wouldn't be willing to fight against them. However, just as killing intent flashed across Zigu's eyes, he was shocked. This Zhou Ming is only at the late nascent soul realm. Why is he so powerful? When Xie Guang made his move, Su Yao instantly fell into despair. The black smoke drifted over. Its speed was too fast, so fast that she didn't have time to defend herself. However, even if she had the treasure, what could she do? She couldn't block it. Although the black smoke was fast, the figure of a young man was even faster. With a flash of gray light, he turned into green smoke and appeared in front of the black smoke. His eyes were cold. Do you think my cauldron is someone you can harm? Break. Ningfan's 5 fingers glowed with a jade-like color. He made a grabbing motion with his hand, and a trace of Devil Mountain intent swept across the area. At this moment, Ningfan's body was filled with devil chi. The black smoke that was powerful enough to tear a peak nascent soul realm cultivator apart was crushed by his grab. Humph! You've made your move. Now, even Su Russian won't be able to say anything if I kill you. Die. Xie Guang's eyes revealed a hideous smile. Just as he was about to make his move, he was waiting for Ningfan to save him so that he could kill him. However, Ningfan's attack was even faster. At this moment, he raised his finger and pointed it twice. The first finger, mountain shattering. The second finger, heaven shattering. Countless mountains on the Pleasure Immortal Island began to crumble. The tyrannical finger force lifted the roof of the treasure tower of the heavenly abode, revealing the sky. It was daytime, but the horizon was dark. A black sun hung in the sky for no reason. When Ningfan's killing intent was triggered, the black sun was ignited. The sun fell, the clouds shattered and the sky collapsed. Xie Guang's expression changed greatly and his face twisted in fear. He was the weakest divine transformation realm cultivator. However, the attack in front of him was comparable to the strongest attack of an early divine transformation realm cultivator. Even Stone Warrior almost died under this finger. How could he, Xie Guang, be able to resist it? I must run. Freeze. Ning Fan pointed his finger for the third time. This time, he froze his body. Dense gray lines entangled Xie Guang. With Ning Fan's current magic power, it was more than enough to freeze Xie Guang for half a breath. What magic technique is this? Xie Guang's expression changed greatly. What kind of magic technique could actually freeze a late nascent soul realm cultivator like Ning Fan? You're the weakest divine transformation realm cultivator, while I'm the strongest nascent soul realm cultivator. You can die now. Collapse. The black light from his finger shot out a ray of dark golden sword chi. Since it was his first time using this sword chi, it could not take form. However, it was obvious that he was much more familiar with it this time. The tip of the finger broke into countless black lines that were as thin as a hair. If one's eyes were sharp enough, they would be able to see that the tip of the black lines was an extremely sharp small sword. It was like an aurora that was being drawn into countless light threads. However, when the light threads approached Xie Guang, they closed up and wrapped him up. Xie Guang, who was the weakest divine transformation realm cultivator, could not even use his profound heavenly spiritual treasure. In desperation, he spat out a mouthful of profound heavenly broken black sand magic treasure, in an attempt to disperse the black threads. However, when the black sand came into contact with the black threads, it shattered into pieces. At this moment, the vast sky of the Pleasure Immortal Island collapsed, revealing a dark void that made one's scalp numb. After the finger shattered the profound heavenly broken treasure, it immediately tore Xie Guang's physical body into pieces like maggots attached to a bone. However, just as his physical body was about to collapse, a black shadow forcefully broke out of the black threads despite suffering severe injuries. While coughing out blood, it suddenly performed a hand seal and turned into black smoke. Then it moved across the sky and was already tens of thousands of li away. That black shadow was the size of a fist, and it looked like a nascent soul. Its appearance was exactly the same as Xie Guang's, but it was illusory. It was a primordial spirit. The speed of the primordial spirit's movement surprised Ning Fan. He wiped off the black blood at the corner of his mouth and sighed. I actually let this evil creature escape. A divine transformation realm cultivator is really not someone I can kill. It was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. The sky in the outside world slowly recovered from the cracks. However, the broken parts of the heavenly abode could no longer be healed. Each of the old monsters of the external endless sea, who were already afraid of Zhou Ming, became even more fearful of him now. At this moment, each of the old monsters of the internal endless sea who were not afraid of Zhou Ming remembered his name, especially the divine transformation realm cultivators on the fourth floor of the pavilion. All of them were greatly shocked. Let alone Xie Guang, even they would certainly suffer severe injuries from that finger attack. Zhou Qing clenched his fists tightly. Is this the Zhou Ming that I underestimated? How can I withstand that finger attack? This Zhou Ming is not the strongest cultivator below the divine transformation realm. How many early divine transformation realm cultivators can withstand that finger attack? Moreover, this person actually said that it's a pity. Could it be that destroying Xie Guang's physical body is not enough, and he wants to kill his primordial spirit as well? I'm known as the Emperor of the Zhou clan. However, I'm nothing in front of this person. The primordial queen killed a divine transformation realm cultivator. Guan Xiong could not help but recall the light of that sword, turning the sword into a thread. There's no mistake. Those countless black threads were sword threads. I have roamed the internal endless sea and cultivated the sword for 3,000 years, but I have yet to comprehend the sword transformation technique. This kid actually comprehended it at the late nascent soul stage. Unfortunately, this kid isn't a member of my Sword Island. Otherwise, the successor of Sword Exalt would definitely be him. Daoist Purple Goo's eyes were filled with shock. The moment Ning Fan made his move, he recognized that Ning Fan was the one who killed the eagle crane. However, after witnessing Ningfan's technique of destroying the evil light with a single finger, he reckoned that even if he has 17,000 purple devouring insects, he would still be severely injured if he gets hit by Ningfan's finger. You killed an elder of my demon sealing hall. I can't just let this matter go. But this kid is not someone to be trifled with. If I fight him alone, I will definitely be severely injured. Although Ningfan's eyes were filled with pity, he sent a message to the direction of his room. Senior Dong-su, I want this person's primordial spirit. Haha, that's easy, that's easy. He's just an early-stage primordial spirit realm cultivator of a small black Buddha sect. Even if he runs for 1,000,000 miles, this old man will still be able to capture him back. Ningfan could destroy the evil light, but he could not kill its primordial spirit. But there was someone who could catch the evil light. Dong-su was a free fighter, so it would be a waste not to use it. Cut the grass and eliminate the roots. Evil light could not run away. However, no one would know that he was the one who killed the evil light. This is the first divine transformation realm cultivator that I've ever killed. Chapter 234. Xie attack struck fear into the hearts of the cultivators. Xie desperate escape caused the crowd of cultivators to shiver. That was the Soul Formation realm. A realm that countless nascent soul realm old freaks had been pursuing for their entire lives. Even if Xie was the weakest Soul Formation realm cultivator, he was still not a match for nascent soul realm cultivator. With just a finger, Evil Ray had died. That finger had condensed the primordial chi into power, gathered the heavenly spirit into the sun, shattered the sun into a sword, and turned the sword into a thread. One finger and one sword. The sky collapsed and the sky shattered, and the spirit-severing realm died. Was this Zhou Ming's true strength? Even among the 13 soul formation cultivators in the outer endless sea, how many of them could withstand a finger attack? The old monsters swallowed their saliva as they looked at the indifferent young man in front of Su Yao. When ordinary old monsters entered the secular world to cultivate, they were all very cautious and pretended to be pigs to eat tigers. But Zhou Ming kept a high profile the entire time. If it was any other cultivator, even if they fought against Evil Light Monk, their first move would at most be a probe, and their trump cards would be hidden at the end. But Zhou Ming had used a killer move in the first round. It seemed reckless, but in fact, his way of life was far more brilliant than the old monsters who pretended to be pigs to eat tigers. If Zhang Xian did not possess sufficient strength, he would naturally have to hide his strength. However, with his strength, he could dominate the outer endless sea and dominate the inner endless sea. Why would he need to hide? If he had not used his killing move in the first round, would it have been so easy for Evil Light to recognize his strength and be on guard? Ningfan's immortal veins were in excruciating pain. That finger attack had damaged him greatly. However, his gaze gradually became calm. His gaze swept across the east wing of the fourth floor, the north wing, and finally stopped at the west wing. From the three rooms, Zhou Qing, Zhou Qi, Guanxiong, and Zigu walked out with complicated expressions. The aura force of 4 people and 3 deities pressed against Ningfan in a probing manner. However, Ningfan remained calm and indifferent while facing the overwhelming aura force. He was not afraid of aura force. At least, aura force below the void fragmentation realm was useless against him. My name is Zhou Ming. Killing people here might make you unhappy. If anyone is unhappy with my conduct, feel free to make a move. These words were obviously meant for the soul formation cultivator from Sanxiang. Guanxiong was the first to retract his aura. Sighing, he slapped his bag of holding and took out a small silver sword. It was 3 inches long, but there were inscriptions on it. It was actually a sword-shaped command medallion. Sword cultivators run amok. Killing with a single sword strike is a common occurrence. I have no complaints about fellow Taoist Zhou. Fellow Taoist Zhou's swordsmanship is superb, and this Guan admires it. If fellow Taoist has the chance, why don't you come to Sword Island for a visit? This is the sword token of my Sword Island. With this token, no one will be able to stop fellow Taoists from coming to Sword Island. Sword slave Guanxiong was trying to befriend Ningfans. They even gave him a token of Sword Island. The sword order shot forward with a trace of sword chi that was enough to kill ordinary peak nascent soul stage cultivators. However, when it arrived in front of Ning Fan, he flicked his finger at the small sword. Immediately, the small sword trembled and the sword chi collapsed. Shattering the sword with a flick of his finger? This young man's body refinement realm is really strong. I'm afraid he has already reached the Jade Life realm. Guan Xiong sighed inwardly. That sword chi was obviously to test Ning Fan's strength. Senior Guan is too polite. This Zhou will accept this sword token for the time being. If there's a chance, this Zhou will definitely make a trip to Sword Island. Ning Fan kept the order and cupped his fists. Guan Xiong nodded slightly and returned to the North Chamber. He represented the Sword Island, and the Sword Island had no hostility towards Ning Fan. This Guan Xiong has a heroic spirit. He wholeheartedly cultivates the sword. Since he wants to befriend me, it means 70% of his sincerity and 30% of his interest in my sword finger technique. In that case, if I have a divine transformation realm cultivation base, there's no harm in making a trip to Sword Island. Ning Fan's gaze fell upon Zhou Qing. He was the second person to retract his aura. There was half a silver lightning star on his glabella, but it had yet to completely condense. This person seemed to have the immemorial lightning vein, but it didn't seem like it. When their gazes met, Zhou Qing's eyes narrowed and he activated the lightning star on his glabella. The half-star flashed and his eyes were like lightning, staring at Ning Fan intently. He had long heard that Ning Fan seemed to have the lightning star ability. If it wasn't for that, Zhou Qing would never pay attention to the cultivators of the external endless sea with his arrogant personality. I am the son of the Zhou clan. I am the most talented person in the Zhou clan in the past 10,000 years. With my half-crippled bloodline, I almost condensed the immemorial lightning star. This person isn't a cultivator of the Zhou clan. It's impossible for him to condense a lightning star. Zhou Qing's eyes were like lightning, but Ning Fan's eyes were like the starry sky. When his eyes met Ning Fan's, a blood-red lightning flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. Immediately, Zhou Qing felt as if a blood-red lightning had exploded in his mind. The lightning in his eyes immediately crumbled and surrendered. Zhou Qing's expression changed drastically. He took 2 steps backwards. He was actually unable to force out the blood-red lightning in his sea of consciousness with his current cultivation base. Zhou Qi, yes. The early spirit severing realm old man in silver robes behind him took a step forward and supported Zhou Qing's back with his palm. Only then did he manage to stabilize himself. His finger flashed with lightning and destroyed the blood-red lightning in Zhou Qing's sea of consciousness. However, at this moment, be it Zhou Qi or Zhou Qing, both of their faces were filled with disbelief. They exchanged glances with each other. Both of their hearts were filled with raging waves. Although Ning Fan could kill Xie Guang, Zhou Qing was not afraid because he could also kill Xie Guang. Even though Ning Fan's finger was powerful, Zhou Qing did not panic. Even though this person was stronger than him, Zhou Qing still had his own pride. However, this blood-red lightning had completely destroyed Zhou Qing's pride as a heavenly son. He was already proud of himself for condensing half a lightning star. However, Ning Fan condensed a complete lightning star. There was no doubt about it. When their eyes met, the 2 types of lightning collided. His silver lightning was completely incomparable to this person's blood-red lightning. What kind of lightning is that? It's just like a heavenly tribulation. In the blink of an eye, Zhou Qing had lost. His face was filled with bitterness. However, he immediately put away his defeated expression and put on a calm smile again. Fellow Taoist Zhou, you must be joking. The Black Buddha sect is just a small sect. Xie Guang is not even worth mentioning. What does it have to do with my Zhou clan? Fellow Taoists' means are brilliant. I, Zhou Qing, am ashamed of my inferiority. You are the #1 expert below the divine transformation realm in the internal endless sea. Fellow Taoist is also an outstanding figure above the divine transformation realm. This is the lightning sovereign token of my Zhou clan. If you enter the internal endless sea in the future, you can come to my Zhou clan with this token. Hiss. The #1 expert below the divine transformation realm in the internal endless sea actually admitted defeat to Zhou Ming? The cultivators of the external endless sea were not that surprised. However, the expressions of the great cultivators of the internal endless sea changed. The emperor of the Zhou clan, Zhou Qing, was a man with outstanding talent and an arrogant character. However, his means were even more powerful. He had defeated a total of 3 early Divine Transformation Realm experts below the Divine Transformation Realm. He could even be ranked in the top 100 on the Devil Appraisal ranking. Usually he would not even put early Divine Transformation Realm experts in his eyes. However, he paid special attention to Zhou Ming. In that case, Zhou Ming's act of killing Ning Fan had gained a good impression from the Sword Island and the Zhou clan. Ning Fan received the Lightning Sovereign token that flew towards him. There was no need for him to test Ning Fan's strength. Everything that should be tested was made clear when they met each other's eyes. Ning Fan stared at the token. It was a totem of a silver-horned lightning beast. It looked simple and domineering. After keeping the token, he cupped his fists towards Zhou Qing. Zhou Qing nodded with a smile and returned to the room with Zhou Qi. This Zhou Qing is quite a character. Lightning was defeated by me. However, he immediately got rid of his feelings of defeat and reignited his fighting spirit. This person must have started from the bottom and climbed up the ranks with difficulty. After experiencing setbacks, he gained an unyielding heart. 10,000 years later, the void fragmentation realm of the Rain World might have this person's name. However, this person's friendship with me is only 10% of sincerity and 90% of his interest in my lightning star blood lightning technique. Unless you have the power to go against Zhou Zun, don't go to the Zhou clan recklessly. I'm afraid that someone might kill you and steal your lightning. In the end, Ning Fan's gaze fell upon Taoist Zigu. I seem to have some grudges with the Demon Sealing sect. May I know what fellow Taoist Zigu wants? Zigu's eyes flashed with a hint of gloominess and he laughed. Fellow Taoist must be joking. I already know about the matter regarding Ying He. He's just a late nascent soul realm cultivator. He was courting his own death by hunting you down. Let's just pretend that nothing has happened. Consider it as our Demon Sealing sect's goodwill towards fellow Taoist. However, fellow Taoist must remember not to harm the people of our Demon Sealing sect in the future. Otherwise, fellow Taoist should understand. As soon as Ying He finished speaking, he took out a purple token and gave it to Ning Fan with a flick of his finger. This is the venerated demon token of our Demon Sealing sect. If fellow Taoist comes to our Demon Sealing sect with this token, you will definitely be treated with courtesy. I, Zigu, look forward to meeting fellow Taoist in the sect. Ning Fan received the token and examined it with his spirit sense. He immediately sneered. There was a gray demon seal hidden within the token. It was used to track someone. The cultivation base of the person who possessed this token was not any weaker than venerated giant or Dong Su. He was most likely a venerated demon of the Demon Sealing sect. The token was said to be a friendly gesture. However, as a matter of fact, once Ning Fan carries this token, his whereabouts would be tracked by Zigu and he would pursue him after that. It seems like Zigu is not as indifferent to the matter of Ning Fan killing Ying He as he claimed. The purple demon seal planted by this person was forced into the All-Heaven relic by Ning Fan, and he could not sense it. So he gave me another token in the name of a friendly gesture to track me. Rumor has it that Zigu has 17,000 purple devouring insects. No one among the early spirit-severing realm cultivators is willing to go against him. This person pretends to be friendly with me on the surface, but in reality, he has the intention to kill me. Perhaps he thinks that I have peeked into Ying He's memories that were sealed by the purple light and know some secrets. That's why he has no choice but to kill me. In the past, I did not have the power to break the purple seal, and I did not discover the secrets of the Demon Sealing sect. However, even if I explain it to Zigu, he will definitely not believe me and he will still kill me. The grudge between me and the Demon Sealing sect will never be resolved. Zigu did not show any sincerity when he gave me the token. He only had killing intent. Unless you are strong enough to annihilate the entire Demon Sealing sect, you must never step into the territory of the Demon Sealing sect. Ning Fan's expression remained unchanged, but he sneered in his heart. He kept the venerated demon token, and no longer looked at Zigu or cupped his fists. Zigu's face twitched. His heart was filled with anger, but he did not show it on his face. He gave Ningfan a deep look and returned to his room. Arrogant brat. When I summon my men, you will certainly die. Zigu sneered inwardly. Evil Guang, the spirit-severing realm cultivator of the Black Buddha sect, was dead. 3 of the 7 venerated beings of the internal sea were competing to befriend Ningfan. When this scene fell into the eyes of countless old monsters, they were instantly filled with astonishment. He was able to kill Evil Guang before attaining the divine transformation realm. Moreover, he was able to befriend the 3 venerated beings of the internal sea. This Ningfan is really powerful. Once he attains the divine transformation realm, wouldn't he be able to put up a fight against a mid-divine transformation realm cultivator? Besides, a few old monsters knew that the force behind Su Rushan was the Giant Devil Clan. If he befriended Ningfan, it meant that the Giant Devil Clan was on good terms with him. In other words, this Ningfan actually befriended 4 of the 7 venerated beings. However, if these people knew that one of the venerated beings of the internal sea, the Dongsu realm, was risking his life to befriend Ningfan, how would they feel? Unfortunately, they would not know that Evil Guang seemed to have escaped, but in fact he was captured before he could get far. The nascent realm auction that could not attract the attention of peak nascent soul realm cultivators had become soul-stirring because of the death of a divine transformation realm old monster. Evil Guang was already dead, and the Dao fruit had become an item without an owner. On the auction stage, the late nascent soul realm auctioneer's face was filled with awkwardness. Who should I give this Dao fruit to? Who is the fellow Daoist who shouted 8 million just now? The auctioneer's gaze fell upon the nascent soul realm old monster, who shouted 8 million just now. Immediately, that old monster felt as if he was sitting on a bed of needles and cursed inwardly. Motherfucker! Why is this auctioneer so blind? Why is he looking at me? This Dao fruit is obviously a hot potato. It's what the sect master of the Bai Yao sect, Su Yao, wants. Who is Su Yao? Great Devil Lord Zhou Ming just said that she's his cauldron. If Evil Guang shouted 9 million, he would die. If I shouted 8 million, he would die. Zhou Ming, he's Zhou Ming. Last time at the Penglai Immortal Islands auction, this guy dared to turn people upside down. This time, he even dared to kill soul formation cultivators. If I dared to snatch the Dao fruit from his woman, it would be strange if he didn't kill me. He's the old ancestor of the Lu clan in the external endless sea, a dignified late nascent soul realm cultivator. But who does he think he is in the eyes of Great Devil Lord Zhou? Before he could say anything, he immediately felt Ningfan's cold gaze sweeping towards him. All of a sudden, old monster Lu's expression changed greatly and his heart trembled with fear. Not good. I've really been targeted by old Devil Lord Zhou. Fellow Daoist, the Dao fruit is 8 million. Please pay. The auctioneer smiled bitterly. He couldn't wait to sell the Dao fruit and leave as soon as possible. I'm sorry. I don't have enough money. I don't want the Dao fruit anymore. Who shouted 7 million just now? Go and find him. Old monster Lu said impatiently. I see. Which fellow Daoist shouted 7 million just now? Please pay. Aya, what a coincidence. I don't have enough money either. Go and find the one who shouted 6 million. I wonder who shouted 6 million just now. Before the auctioneer could finish his words, a series of voices sounded. What bad luck. I lost my storage pouch. I don't have 6 million. I shouted 2 million, but I don't have enough money. I shouted 6 million, but I don't have enough money. Each of the old monsters looked at each other. None of them dared to ask for the Dao fruit. None of them were fools. They might offend the Great Devil Lord Zhou for 20 units of magic power. If they lose their lives, they won't be able to cultivate anymore. Let's talk about the Dao fruit next time. Interesting. It seems like everyone didn't bring enough money. In that case, only Yao Air can buy this Dao fruit. Ningfan smiled faintly. Su Yao's cheeks immediately turned red. She felt grateful and annoyed at the same time. Yao Air. When did I allow him to call me that? She was the sect master of one of the 10 sects, but she was publicly announced as a human cauldron by him. However, not only did she not look down on her, many evil women secretly envied her for obtaining old Devil Zhou's protection. Sect Master Su, this Dao fruit is worth 5 million immortal jades. Do you have enough money? The auctioneer smiled bitterly. Of course it's enough. Su Yao's heart was in a mess. She answered absent-mindedly and landed on the ground. She paid for the fruit and returned to her room. Just like that, the nascent soul realm auction finally came to an end. The auctioneer who was under great pressure finally left. The next person to take over was Yan Zhongzi, who was invited by Su Rushan. Many of the items in the Grand Cultivator Realm auction were enough to attract spirit-severing realm cultivators to bid for them. It was dangerous without a spirit-severing realm cultivator. All the nascent soul realm cultivators who were below the Grand Cultivator realm left one after another. Not long after, no one was seated on the second floor. Many Grand Cultivators who did not have the Pleasure Devil token had no choice but to leave. Su Yao had no choice but to leave. She came to the Pleasure Devil Sea for the Dao fruit. Now that she had the Dao fruit, what was the point of staying? Thank you. She bit her lips slightly. Could this be the fourth time Ning Fan saved her? Only verbal thanks, huh? Ning Fan teased. No, it's not. Su Yao blushed and signaled the other Bai Yao female cultivators to leave first. After they left, Su Yao seemed to have made an important decision. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed Ning Fan's cheek lightly like a dragonfly touching the water surface. If you come to Bai Yao sect, I, Su Yao, will not break my promise and let you pick me. Her face was burning hot. With her identity as a sect master, it was already very bold to say such words to a man. But in the end, she had to leave. She walked away step by step. Every step she took seemed to take her further away from Ning Fan, causing her to feel a little disappointed. However, before she could leave the room, Ning Fan grabbed her wrist. Wait. What's wrong? Isn't a kiss enough? Her wrist that was being held by Ning Fan felt a little numb, making her reluctant to let go of his hand. Take these 3 Dao fruits. This nascent formation pill and 10 million immortal jades. Help me bring them to Suqiao. 3 Dao fruits. 10 million immortal jades. Su Yao covered her mouth with her hands and was stunned. Your Bai Yao sect might have this nascent formation pill too. However, the pills concocted by 4th Revolution pill masters are not as good as mine. This pill is better. He did not explain his identity as a 5th Revolution pill master to Su Yao. There was no need. Goodbye. Ning Fan cupped his fists and smiled. Then he returned to the room on the 3rd floor. Su Yao looked at his retreating figure with ripples in her heart. Then she smiled faintly and left with light steps. Thank you. Thank you for treating little sister Suqiao so well. Thank you for saving me so many times. In the room, Dong Su had already returned with an extremely weak black primordial spirit in his hand. He looked at Ning Fan with a faint smile. This person's primordial spirit has been captured. You can do whatever you want with it. So, can this old man help you once? Senior, you must be joking. Capturing a mere spirit-severing realm-broken god is just a small matter to you. How can it be counted as helping you? Ning Fan took Xie Guang's primordial spirit and his storage pouch and sealed them. Then he shifted his gaze and looked at Su Qiuling. Killing Xie Guang and capturing a primordial spirit made Su Qiuling's eyes shine with excitement. However, at the same time, when she thought about how Ning Fan helped her to save her beauties, she felt a little sour in her heart. Young Master Zhou has a lot of beauties. However, when Ning Fan's gaze landed on her, her cheeks immediately turned red. What's wrong? Is there anything dirty on my face? No. It's just that I'm quite interested in this Grand Cultivator level auction. However, other than the spirit-severing realm cauldron, all the items that will be auctioned will be kept a secret. Therefore, I want to ask Miss Qiuling about the items that will be auctioned this time. Of course, what I'm most concerned about is that spirit-severing realm cauldron. I wonder if Miss Qiuling knows anything about it. Since young Master Zhou has asked, Qiuling will certainly tell you everything she knows. There are indeed many good items that will be auctioned in this auction. For example, 5th Revolution pills, pill recipes, divine transformation realm cultivation methods, secret techniques, profound heavenly spiritual treasures. Of course, there are also some keys to the secret realms of the Endless Sea. However, I think these are not enough to attract young Master Zhou's interest. There are a total of 4 items that will be auctioned this time. One of them is a profound grade divine sense stone. With this stone, an early divine transformation realm old monster will have a certain chance of condensing his divine intent. The second item is a mortal void grade spiritual iron with the absorption technique. This spiritual iron is considered as one of the rare supreme grade spiritual iron of the mortal void grade. The third item is a complete Tao crystal. The fourth item is a spirit severing realm cauldron. However, Qiuling really doesn't know anything about this woman's identity. Divine sense stone, spiritual iron, Tao crystal. Ningfan muttered. All of these 3 items were extraordinary. Among them, the absorption technique spiritual iron would be extraordinary if it can be used to enhance the spirit-shattering whip. However, what he was most concerned about was still the spirit-severing realm cauldron. Even Su Qiuling doesn't know about this woman's identity. You can't touch that woman. Old Ancestor Dong Su said with a solemn expression. Oh, what does Senior Dong Su know? Please enlighten me. Ningfan's eyes flickered. She's from the Divine Space Island. It's highly possible that she's the disciple of Venerated Moon. Divine Space Island? Ningfan frowned while listening to Dong Su's explanation. The Divine Space Island was one of the 7 venerated forces in the internal sea. As for Venerated Moon, she was the leader of the 7 venerated forces. Her strength was above Venerated Giant and the others. She even had half a foot in the Void Refinement realm. The Divine Space Island was located in the Divine Space Sea of the internal sea. However, the power of the Void in that area was chaotic. Even Divine Transformation Realm cultivators would most likely die if they entered the Divine Space Sea recklessly. As for the Divine Space Island, it did not concern itself with worldly affairs. The disciples of the sect also rarely came into contact with the outside world. However, in recent days, countless female corpses were floating outside the Divine Space Sea. One of the corpses that was not completely dead was the early Divine Transformation Realm cauldron. All the forces in the internal sea were guessing that something huge must have happened to the Divine Space Island. The craziest rumor was that Venerated Moon had failed to break through to the Void Refinement realm and fell into Qi deviation. Then, she annihilated all the disciples of her sect. It was because some of the experts of the internal sea who had been planted with a mental seal by Venerated Moon realized that the mental seal had disappeared. This undoubtedly meant that Venerated Moon was most likely dead. If they could search the memories of that Divine Transformation Realm female cultivator, they would be able to learn about the changes in the Divine Space Island. They might even be able to figure out the marketplace at the entrance of the Divine Space Sea and enter the Divine Space Island to obtain Venerated Moon's inheritance. Even though everyone had died, most of the resources of the sect were still around. On the surface, they were selling Divine Transformation Realm cauldrons. However, they were secretly competing for the inheritance of the Divine Space Island. However, this cauldron's memories were sealed and her mind was even more unclear. She seemed to have lost her mind. Ordinary people would not be able to search her soul at all. They would also not be able to get any information from her. At least, the Giant Devil Clan's soul-searching secret technique did not manage to search her memories. The Giant Devil Clan had given up on getting involved in this matter. Dong Su also could not search her soul successfully. The only ones who had not tried to search her soul were the Sword Island, the Zhou clan and the Demon Sealing sect. That Black Buddha sect had overestimated themselves. That was why they came to bid for the cauldron. No matter what happened on the Divine Space Island, it would be filled with unpredictable dangers. Only the 7 great forces would dare to enter the island to investigate. At least, Dong Su did not suggest Ningfan to get involved in this matter. As for the key to enter the island, it was that Divine Transformation Realm cauldron. The so-called auction that will take place after that is just for the Divine Transformation Realm experts of the 3 sects to search this woman's memories using the secret techniques of their clans. If they still fail to search her memories, then this woman will lose her value and become just a cauldron. However, if she loses her value, no one will be willing to bid for this cauldron just because it's just a cauldron. What Dong Su knew was even more detailed than Su Rushan and the others. After Ning Fan listened to him, he remained silent. In that case, if the divine transformation realm experts of the three sects failed to search her soul, he would be able to bid for this cauldron. With the might of the evil-slaying light, the divine transformation realm experts of the three sects would not compete with him. As for him, he had the mind-reading technique. Would he be able to find out something from this cauldron? The auction begins now. The first auction item is a 40,000 years old spiritual herb, the 10,000 sword separating grass. Once this grass is refined, it can help to increase one's cultivation base in the Tao of Sword. The starting price is 3 million immortal jade. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. The first auction item was a good item that could stabilize the cultivation base of the second finger of the sword finger. Chapter 235. 5 million. For million. 5 million. The grass of 10,000 sword separation was only useful for sword cultivators. Although there were not many sword cultivators, there were 17 in the outer endless sea and 74 in the inner endless sea. Among them, there were a few sword cultivators who valued the grass of 10,000 sword separation. But when Ning Fan called out the price of 5 million, the entire crowd was stunned into silence. The lingering power was still there. Ning Fan's floated down and paid for the grass. Yen Zhongzi's face showed a bitter smile. If it was in the past, it would not be difficult for it to sell for 7 million immortal jades. However, after Ning Fan's bid, the matter was settled and Ning Fan was the one who obtained the item. The Sword Island's divine transformation stage Guanxiong was also slightly tempted by the grass. However, he had the intention of befriending Ning Fan's, so he would not offend Ning Fan's for a mere spiritual grass. In the end, the flower fell into Ning Fan's pocket. The items that were auctioned after that were mostly ordinary 10,000 years old spiritual herbs. Other than the items that he needed, Ning Fan did not bid for anything else. However, whenever there was a fifth revolution pill recipe, Ning Fan would bid for it. All the immortal jades in the auction had to be handed over to the giant devil clan. Therefore, Su Rushan could not give Ning Fan any preferential treatment. In the end, Ning Fan had spent nearly 200 million immortal jades. Even Evil Light's money had been spent. There was less than 50 million immortal jades left in his storage pouch. Therefore, when it came to the auction of the arcane heavenly spiritual treasure and the incomplete treasure, he wasn't too concerned. This allowed many great cultivators to secretly heave a sigh of relief. They did not know that Ning Fan was a fifth revolution pill refinement master. It was already heaven-defying for him to possess the combat strength of a divine transformation realm cultivator at the age of 340 years old. How could it be possible for him to have a fifth-grade pill refinement master? Even Yen Zhongzi was secretly shocked by Ning Fan's wealth. Even soul formation cultivators in the boundless sea would be considered wealthy if they had tens of millions of celestial jades. After all, on the path of cultivation, elixirs and dharma treasures were too costly. Setting up arrays and refining artifacts also consumed a lot of celestial jades. In the 800 cultivation countries, ordinary spirit-severing cultivators were even poorer. Many great cultivators desired an incomplete profound heavenly treasure, and they were willing to sell their entire fortune to bid for one. Naturally, they were happy to see Ning Fan not participating in the auction of magical treasures. Unfortunately, even Guanxiong and the others would occasionally be tempted by a magic treasure of this grade. Heavenly Violet Rope, Profound Heaven Incomplete Treasure, starting price, 10 million immortal jades. Ancient Scarlet Cloud Sword, Profound Heaven Incomplete Treasure, starting price, 15 million immortal jades. Sunset Pagoda, 10 million soul banner. Countless magical treasures were being fought over, but Ning Fan remained unmoved. He had 3 profound heaven incomplete treasures, which was enough. After Dharma treasures came spiritual equipment and spiritual iron. Pleasure Devil Sea was rich in spirit ores and spirit iron was extraordinary. There were several pieces of profound earth spiritual equipment and transcendent spiritual iron being auctioned. When the first item of the auction, the Mortal Void Grade Spiritual Iron, Absorption Technique, was sold, even Zhou Qing's heart was moved. The Zhou clan of the Internal Sea was an expert in attacking the nascent soul. He also had a magic treasure that was similar to Ningfan's spirit-shattering lightning whip, even though its destructive power was not as domineering as Ningfan's. If this item was attached to the treasure, Zhou Qing's strength would undoubtedly increase. Absorption Spirit Iron, a rare top-grade spirit iron among mortal void spirit iron. If it is attached to a magical treasure, it can injure the enemy when attacking. Absorption Spirit Iron. During a fight, it can secretly absorb the magic power of the enemy's cultivation. Starting price, 20 million. 21 million. Ningfan bid. Zhou Qing's eyelids furrowed for a moment before relaxing. Young master, do you want to make a bid? Zhou Qi asked. Give him some face. Zhou Qing could not tell if he was happy or angry. Mortal Void Spirit Iron was something that even Divine Transformation Realm cultivators would fight for. Naturally, its price would be exorbitant. However, with Zhou Qing's status in the Zhou clan, he still had the chance to get his hands on it. There was no need for him to become enemies with Ningfan because of this. After the auction of the spiritual equipment, it was time for the pills. The 4th and 5th Revolution pills naturally attracted the bidding of cultivators. Ningfan did not have much money. Other than the Heavenly Primordial Pill and the Profound Primordial Pill, he did not bid for anything else. At the end of the pill auction, the second item, the Shunyi Stone, was about to be auctioned. Yin Zhongzi held a jade box in his hand, within which was a round, blood-red stone with patterns on it. As soon as it appeared, it immediately attracted the attention of all the great cultivators. The Divine Will Stone was divided into 4 grades: Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow. A nascent soul realm divine envoy of the Rain Palace would be bestowed with a yellow grade Divine Will Stone. This profound grade Divine Will Stone could only be obtained by a Divine Transformation Realm revered elder of the Rain Palace. The starting price was 30 million. However, great cultivators hadn't even broken through to the soul formation stage, so they naturally wouldn't spend a huge amount of money to buy this stone. Only a colossal force like the Rain Palace would be willing to let a nascent soul realm divine envoy consume the Divine Will Stone. The 3 Divine Transformation Realm experts on the 4th floor were also old Divine Transformation Realm experts. Thus, they didn't need this stone. In the end, this stone was bid by Zhou Qing. Ningfan did not compete for it. Old Man Dong Su already had a few pieces of profound grade Divine Will Stone. Even though it didn't belong to Ningfan before he saved Su Qiuling's life. After the Divine Will Stone, some more pills were auctioned. Then the third item, the Dao Crystal, was about to be auctioned. It was a green crystal with lotus patterns on it. The spiritual power contained in this Dao Crystal was almost the sum of 5 million immortal jades. This is a Dao Crystal. This item is needed by a Void Fragmentation Realm old monster to become an immortal. It's the item used to set up an immortal void grand formation. It's also the currency of the 4 heavens immortal world. The starting price is 5 million immortal jades. This item seemed to have a great origin. However, in reality, it was only useful to void fragmentation realm old monsters and immortal void grand formations. It wasn't that attractive to great cultivators. The currency of the immortal world, huh? Ningfan shook his head. He did not need this item. If he had the chance to ascend to the 4 heavens, he would have the means to kill others and seize their treasures to gather enough Dao crystals. A piece of Dao crystal was rare in the Rain world. However, to a true immortal in the 4 heavens, it was just equivalent to a piece of immortal jade. In the end, it was won by Daoist Zigu for 9 million immortal jades. Ningfan, on the other hand, smiled inwardly. If I kill Zigu one day, I wonder if this piece of Dao crystal will return to my pocket. The nascent soul realm cauldrons that were auctioned this time were already in Ningfan's pocket. What replaced them were demon pets, spiritual insects and spiritual talismans. Fake wild beast realm demon pets and spirit severing realm spiritual talismans could occasionally make Ningfan's eyes light up. However, they were not very useful. After saving Su Qiuling, he would take over the 17 spirit-severing realm mechanical puppets from Dong Su. Demon pets still needed to be raised. Would they be more useful than the mechanical puppets? He was waiting for the last item in the finale. Spirit-severing realm cauldron. The auction lasted for 3 days. 3 days later, it finally came to an end. When a little girl in a white gown walked onto the auction stage with heavy shackles on her feet and hands, under the protection of 3 nascent soul stage cultivators, the whole place fell silent. At this moment, Zhou Qing, Guanxiong and Zigu's eyes lit up at the same time. The girl was only 8 or 9 years old. She was dressed like a servant. Her lips were red and her teeth were white. Her face was clear and charming, but her eyes were empty. It was hard to believe that this girl was a spirit-severing realm old monster with her childlike appearance. However, it was not surprising. Many old monsters cultivated the virgin technique. Their appearance would always remain as a child until they die. It was not a rare thing. Yin Zhong's eyes showed a rare seriousness. He was wary of the spirit-severing realm cultivators from the 3 sections. In the dark, Su Russian's palms were sweating. Zhou Qing, Guanxiong and Zigu landed on the auction stage one after another. They tried to probe into the girl's sea of consciousness with their spirit sense. However, their attempts were futile. Yin Zhongzi cleared his throat and released his aura, shocking the entire place. This spirit-severing realm cauldron is the last item of this auction. Those who are not interested in this item can leave first. Of course, everyone would get a drop of Mother Earth nether milk. However, that would be after the trip to the secret realm. Before that, the mission of the great cultivators would come to an end. They must clear the place. Once the spirit-severing realm cultivators from the 3 sects find out some shocking news from the girl's sea of consciousness, it would probably cause a large-scale change in the internal sea. Even though the divine space island was low-key, it still had countless forces in the internal sea. If they could find out about the death of venerated moon from the girl's sea of consciousness, those forces would be divided among themselves. If they could find out the method to enter the divine space island from the girl's sea of consciousness, the inheritance of the divine space island would cause a frenzied battle in the internal sea. Su Qiuling stood up slowly. She knew that Ning Fan needed a cauldron for his cultivation. However, after her master told Ning Fan that this girl was involved, Ning Fan should not compete for this cauldron anymore. However, what surprised Su Qiuling was that Ning Fan's eyes were deep in thought. He did not leave. Young Master Zhou, it's better for us to leave first. Don't get involved in unnecessary trouble. Su Qiuling advised. It's all right. I want to have a look. Ning Fan leaped and landed on the auction stage. As soon as he landed, Zigu frowned while Zhou Qing was surprised. Guanxiong was also in a dilemma. However, Ning Fan immediately cupped his fists at Guanzhou and Zhou Qing. Everyone, please continue. I have no interest in the inheritance of the divine space island. However, if I can't search this girl's soul, she will be useless. I want to buy this girl as my cauldron at that time. Oh. Fellow Taoist is really well informed. This matter is only known by the major forces in the internal sea. We only told you about it at the last minute. Even Su Russian might not know about it, but you know about it. Guanxiong's eyes flashed and he looked at Ning Fan highly again. When they heard that Ning Fan did not have the intention to search the girl's memories, but just wanted her cauldron, Guanxiong and Zhou Qing's strange expression disappeared, and they nodded to show their agreement. Only Zigu's eyes turned cold. Originally, he planned to take this girl as his cauldron if he could not search her memories. However, he did not expect Ning Fan to interfere. However, when he thought of the destructive power of Ning Fan's finger, he did not dare to compete with Ning Fan for the cauldron alone. Forget it. Even though this girl is a divine transformation realm expert, she is still a little girl after all. Her primordial essence is not ripe yet, and the effect of plucking her won't be good. So what if I let this young man have her? Besides, plucking a divine transformation realm cauldron requires time and thorough preparation. This young man will enter the secret realm of the broken world in a few days, and we can't bring divine transformation realm cultivators with us. Hence, we won't be able to pluck her. After entering the secret realm, this young man will definitely leave the island. When the time comes, I will also call for help from my sect. It won't be difficult to eliminate this person and seize his cauldron and treasures. Taoist Zigu pondered for a moment and revealed an indifferent smile. He nodded. indicating that he would give this girl to Ning Fan as his cauldron if the search fails. The crowd dispersed. Su Rushan appeared from the dark and guarded the cauldron together with Yan Zhongzi and Ning Fan. As for the other 4 people from the 3 sects, after some discussion, they decided that Guan Xiong would be the first, Zhou Qing would be the second, and Zigu would be the third. The soul-searching secret technique that Guan Xiong used was similar to the sword sense technique. However, it was not a condensed sword sense. Instead, it was formed from sword qi. The soul-searching technique of the Zhou clan was called the White Lightning Memory Extinguishing Technique. It used lightning as a form of sense to search one's soul. As for Taoist Zigu, he basically used his purple worms as a form of sense. The 3 of them tried to use their spirit sense to enter the girl's head. These 3 traces of spirit sense could probably search the sea of consciousness of a late divine transformation realm cultivator. Ning Fan was speechless. As expected of the supreme force of the devil Tao in the internal sea, their soul-searching memory extinguishing technique was indeed extraordinary. It was countless times stronger than his ordinary soul-searching technique. Even though Guan Xiong's pseudo-sword sense was extraordinary, it was obviously much weaker than the other 2 soul-searching techniques. Zigu's purple worms technique was stronger than Guan Xiong's, but weaker than Zhou Qing's. However, the Tao of controlling worms was not something that could be learned in a short period of time. Ning Fan did not want to learn it. As for Zhou Qing's white lightning memory extinguishing technique, it was the strongest. It seemed to be lightning power. However, there seemed to be a trace of demonic power integrated into it. The fusion of lightning power and demonic power. Is it related to the lightning beast? It's a fusion of magic technique and demonic technique. The person who created this soul-searching technique must have an astonishing innate talent. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with excitement. With his lightning star blood lightning, if he could obtain this technique, he would no longer need to be afraid of being sealed when he searches the memories in her sea of consciousness. Unfortunately, even though the 3 of them had extraordinary soul-searching techniques, they failed one after another. This was not strange at all. Even Dong Su had said that he had secretly searched the girl's soul. However, even he failed. What else could ordinary people do? Guan Xiong sighed and shook his head. Zigu's face turned gloomy. As for Zhou Qing, he let out a hearty laugh. He did not seem to be bothered by the failure of the soul-searching technique at all. Not being able to search this girl's soul further proves that the drastic change on the Divine Space Island is rather terrifying. Not being able to search her soul is not necessarily a bad thing. If we don't enter the Divine Space Island, we might be able to avoid this calamity. As for fellow Taoist Zhou Ming, Zhou Qing's gaze shifted to Ning Fan and he smiled faintly. Fellow Taoist Zhou Ming, you seem to be quite interested in this white lightning memory extinguishing technique. If it's in the past, I would certainly offer this technique to you with both hands. However, my technique isn't complete. Moreover, this technique is related to the secret of my clan. Forgive me for not daring to offer this technique to you. However, if fellow Taoist is willing to come to my Zhou clan, perhaps the old ancestor of my Zhou clan will take a liking to you and teach you this technique. Hehe. Fellow Taoist, you must be joking. No matter how arrogant I am, I won't covet the secret technique of your Zhou clan. Ning Fan chuckled. However, a strange feeling rose in his heart. This Zhou Qing no longer seemed to be hostile towards me. However, at the same time he seemed to be trying his best to invite me to join the Zhou clan of the Eternal Endless Sea. Even though this technique was profound, Ning Fan would not recklessly enter the territory of the Zhou clan, just for a small soul-searching technique. He did not want to take the risk before his strength was complete. Who knew if the Zhou clan really invited him out of goodwill? Ning Fan could see through the goodwill of the giant devil clan and old man Dong Su, but he could not see through the Zhou clan. Sigh. In that case, I have failed the task assigned by revered sword. Congratulations to fellow Taoist Zhou for obtaining this woman as a cauldron. If you have the chance, you must come to Sword Island. Farewell. Guan Xiong cupped his fists and disappeared in a flash of sword light. With a leap he was already tens of thousands of miles away. This technique was not a teleportation technique, but a technique unique to sword cultivators known as the sword teleportation technique. With this technique, a sword cultivator's speed would be unparalleled among his peers. Zhou Qing nodded slightly at Ning Fan. When he turned around, he transmitted his voice to the old man behind him. This person's vigilance is quite high. Forget it. There are still quite a number of years before the opening of the Thunder Emperor's tomb. In order to obtain a spot to enter the tomb other than the Seven Supremes, this person will eventually come to our Zhou clan. Zhou Qi, let's go. Yes. The old man responded and waved his hand, turning into a cloud of silver smoke that swept up the young master and left. The soul formation teleportation was different from teleportation. It could easily take countless people with it. In the end, Zigu was the only one left. His gaze swept across the body of the little girl with a covetous gaze. Eventually, he shifted his gaze away and cupped his fists at Ning Fan with a fake smile. Then, he turned into a cloud of purple smoke and left. His departure was to return to the internal endless sea to look for helpers to kill Ning Fan. After everyone had left, Su Rushan and Yan Zhongze heaved a sigh of relief. Both of their gazes fell upon Ning Fan. Their eyes were filled with respect and fear. The two of them forcefully withstood that finger attack, which could exterminate the evil light. They would either die or be injured. Fellow Taoist Zhou, you've really concealed your strength well. I'm ashamed of my inferiority. Yan Zhongze naturally thought that Ning Fan was still hiding his strength when he took on his 5 palm strikes in order to break through to the Jade Life realm. If Ning Fan had used this technique on that day, Yan Zhongze's life would certainly be in danger. Yan Zhongze thought to himself. No wonder Su Rushan praised this person highly. It's dangerous to attain the spirit-severing realm within Tenjiang. It turns out that this is the case. His thoughts had gone astray. Su Rushan, on the other hand, looked at Ning Fan as if he could not see through him. The spirit-severing realm cauldron came from the Divine Space Island. Su Rushan really did not know about this, but Ning Fan did. He felt that he could not see through Ning Fan anymore. This person is the person that venerated giant is waiting for. Su Rushan took a deep breath. He had already contributed a lot to the successful conclusion of the auction, and the successful search for Ning Fan for venerated giant. His daughter seemed to have been staying by Ning Fan's side for a few days. Their relationship seemed to be quite close. Let her do as she pleases about Qiuling. Besides, this Zhou Ming is indeed a good choice. Su Rushan was thinking about his daughter's marriage. Ning Fan's eyes stared at the hollow eyes of the little girl without saying a word. Her qi was indeed at the early divine transformation realm. However, it seemed a little strange. I wonder how much this girl will cost. Ning Fan cupped his fists. He wanted to buy this girl. Hee, fellow Taoist must be joking. I can't search this woman's soul because she's just a soul-transforming spirit cauldron. Plucking a soul-transforming spirit cauldron only amounts to a few hundred units of magical power. I'm even willing to give you 200 drops of Mother Earth nether milk. Why would I care about this cauldron? Fellow Taoists can just take this cauldron. I believe revered giant won't have any objections. This old man has already expressed his sincerity. As for the matter regarding the demon cores, I'll have to trouble fellow Taoist. With fellow Taoist's current strength, let alone 150, as long as you have enough time, it's not impossible for you to kill all the desolate beasts in the secret realms. Fellow Taoist, Su must be joking. In that case, it would be impolite of me to refuse this cauldron. Ning Fan shook his cauldron ring and kept the girl away. With his current status, it was not strange for him to use a grotto heaven treasure in public. Su Rushan was indeed joking. He said that he had enough time, at least a few years, at most a few decades. He didn't think that Ning Fan could eliminate all the beasts in the secret realm in just 5 months. However, it shouldn't be difficult for him to kill 150 beasts if he risked his life. Unfortunately, this joke soon came true. There were still 8 days before the opening of the Mystic Realm. When they returned to the profound Jade Palace, it was still Yulong who received the visiting cultivators and received their generous gifts. As for Ning Fan, he brought the female corpse who followed him around and entered the Yuanyao world. He shook his cauldron ring and summoned the divine transformation realm young girl. It wasn't easy to pluck a divine transformation realm cauldron. It required the assistance of pills in order to achieve the best effect. At least he didn't have that pill at the moment. Moreover, with his nascent soul realm cultivation base, he would need at least half a month to refine the magic power of a divine transformation realm female. The reason why he summoned the young girl this time was not to pluck her. Instead, Ning Fan wanted to pry into her memories. He was not really uninterested in the divine space island. He did not lie. He was not interested in the inheritance of the divine space island at all. However, he was extremely interested in the female cultivators of the divine space island. Not to mention the venerated moon, he was even interested in the disciples of the venerated moon's 7 goddesses. First of all, I'll try to search this girl's soul. If I can't, I'll try to use the mind-reading technique to pry into her mind. Who knows, I might be able to see the secrets that even the 7 venerated beings of the internal sea can't. Chapter 236. Ning Fan's mind sank into the little girl's memories. It was still the weakest soul-searching technique. He had to immerse his mind into it. Once he fails, he would suffer a backlash. He did not immediately use the mind-reading technique. He tried to search her soul first. The little girl's sea of consciousness was like a pitch-black void. In this void, all the memories were pitch-black and could not be seen. Ning Fan could not see the way he came from, and he could not choose the path ahead. Walking in the void, his mind felt like it was going to melt into the darkness. What a strange memory seal. It was actually sealed with the power of the void. No wonder old ancestor Dong Su could not search her soul. Other than void refinement realm old monsters, no one else could search the memory sealed with the power of the void. Ning Fan did not attempt it. Instead, he explored the deep void. He knew that the girl's sea of consciousness and memories were hidden under the void. It was too dangerous for his mind to enter the void without the help of the Eastern Ocean Bell. He turned around and wanted to leave. However, before his mind left, he was slightly startled. He raised his head as if he had sensed something. This light is... 3 fiend god stars appeared in his eyes and glabella. At this moment, his eyes slightly pierced through the darkness of the void and saw a trace of moonlight. It was just a trace of moonlight, but it gave Ning Fan a great sense of danger. It was even stronger than old ancestor Dong Su. Without the fiend god stars, one would definitely not be able to see this moonlight. Ning Fan peeked at the moon with the stars. When he peeked at the moonlight, his heart became more and more uneasy. When the moonlight was peeked at, it was like a key that was opened and slowly dispersed. At this moment, the darkness in the little girl's sea of consciousness disappeared. A wolf crescent moon shone in the sky. The little girl began to wake up on her own. Not good. Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn. The moonlight was attacking him at an unbelievable speed. If the moonlight touched him, his mind would certainly be destroyed. At the same time, the little girl's voice resounded in his sea of consciousness, pressing down on his mind. It was young and immature. Who are you? A mere late nascent soul realm cultivator dares to search my memory. You're courting death. Before he could retract his mind, the trace of his mind was almost destroyed by the voice. With only a trace of his consciousness escaping, Ning Fan's palm quickly moved away from the little girl's forehead and spurted out a mouthful of blood. His eyes focused and without any hesitation, he used the plucking finger on the little girl's shoulder and chest. There was no hesitation or mercy in this finger strike. In fact, he had even activated the Jade Life Physique art. However, when the force of the finger landed on the chest of the little girl, it felt as if it was hitting a piece of iron. The physical body of this little girl was already at the 2nd level of the Jade Life realm. Not only could the force of the plucking finger not penetrate into her body, when the finger came into contact with her shoulder, the bones in Ning Fan's finger felt like it was going to crack. A strong rebounding force pushed him back 1,000 zhang. Ning Fan's expression changed. The strength of this little girl's physical body is unimaginable. At this moment, the little girl's eyes gradually became clear. The hollowness turned into coldness and arrogance. An aura that resembled the awakening of a giant dragon flowed out of the little girl's body. You accidentally touched the moon consciousness and awakened Grandma. Although you did a good deed, you can die now. The little girl sneered. It was obviously Ningfan who awakened her sea of consciousness by accident. However, she still wanted to kill Ningfan and repay his kindness with evil. She took a step forward with her delicate little feet, and instantly turned into moon-white smoke. In a flash, she crossed the distance of 1,000 zhang, and appeared in front of Ningfan. She bent her finger and flicked it. The fusion of the moon power of this finger was definitely not weaker than Ningfan's unfinished second finger of the sword finger. The little girl was confident that she could kill Ningfan by flicking her finger. However, a beautiful figure in white robes appeared in front of Ningfan lightly, and threw a punch at him. "Don't allow me to hurt light." Her eyes flashed with dark green ferocious light. The little girl whose body refinement realm was above Ningfan was sent flying by the punch of the female corpse. She coughed out blood in disbelief. Corpse devil. Her strength is comparable to a mid-divine transformation realm devil. She tapped the ground with her delicate feet. With a tremendous force, she created cracks in the void in the sky. Her arrogance that had just been awakened gradually faded away. What replaced it was a hint of fear and solemnity. She had suffered a backlash from her second primordial spirit, and was severely injured after seizing her body. Why would she appear in this place? Speaking of which, where is this place? That late nascent soul realm cultivator actually has a mid-divine transformation realm corpse devil to protect her. Which family does she come from? The little girl's delicate eyes coldly swept across the Yuan Yao world. Immediately, her small face was filled with shock. This is a world treasure. Looking at the magical treasures and stars above her head and the vague peak divine transformation realm grand formation in the surrounding mountains and rivers, she stared at Ningfan with a gloomy expression. "You're the one who captured me and brought me into this world." This girl seemed to have no memory of her identity as a human cauldron, and her wandering in the external endless sea. Ningfan did not answer her. Instead, he activated the yin-yang locket. He wanted to see who exactly this girl was. Her cultivation realm was only at the early divine transformation realm. Her body refinement realm was only at the second level of jade life. However, if Ningfan was not mistaken, the moonlight in her sea of consciousness was in the form of moonlight. Moon consciousness. Even a true immortal might not be able to grasp a special sea of consciousness. It had nothing to do with one's cultivation realm. It all depended on one's luck and aptitude. Since this girl could grasp it, her identity in the divine space island must not be an ordinary disciple. "Who are you?" Ningfan did not answer her question but asked her a question instead. "Humph. You have yet to answer my question. This small kiliacosm is under your control, isn't it? Quickly let me go and I will spare your life." The little girl murmured in her heart. "I'm not going to tell you. I'm the lord of the divine space island, Yulinkong." Ningfan's eyes turned cold. This answer was out of his expectation. Yulinkong. Yulinkong. This girl calls herself Yulinkong. She is not a divine transformation realm female disciple of the divine space island. She is venerated moon of the divine space island. The 7 strongest experts of the internal sea. An expert who has half a step into the void refinement realm. The first divine transformation realm cauldron that I obtained. She is the strongest expert of the internal sea. So you are Yulinkong. However, from today onwards, you are no longer the lord of the divine space island, but my human cauldron. How did you know my identity? The little girl was, of course, shocked. She was possessed by her second primordial spirit. She was supposed to die. However, the cultivation method that she cultivated, Moonwool technique, was extremely unique. At the moment of her death, her primordial spirit would leave her body and reconstruct her physical body, using moonlight to escape from the divine space sea. Even though she managed to keep her life, it was difficult for her cultivation base to recover. Moreover, her half-step void refinement realm magic power had fallen to the early divine transformation realm. The excess magic power turned into moonlight and was sealed inside her body. Once it explodes, she might even lose her life at any time. This physical body of hers was just the appearance of Yulinkong when she was 8 years old. Unless her cultivation base recovers, otherwise she would not be able to grow up. Logically speaking, no one under the heavens would recognize her appearance. However, this young man at the late nascent soul stage in front of her actually knew her identity. How did he know? Moreover, this arrogant young man actually said that I am his human cauldron. What a joke. In the endless sea. Who dares to make you Linkong, the #1 expert of the internal sea, a human cauldron? Isn't he afraid of dying in bed when he plucks her? If you dare to pluck me, I will take your life. Tell me, who are you? Why did you capture me? If your answer satisfies me, I will let you go and let you go. Being trapped in the hands of an enemy. Even the little girl who was arrogant could not help but speak in a gentler tone. However, when this childish voice fell into Ningfan's ears, it turned into a cold sneer. It was because he had heard the inner voice of the little girl. The childish voice. Humph. For the time being, I will give in first and immediately leave this world. This small kiliacosm has already been fortified. Even I won't be able to escape once I am sucked into it. After I leave this world treasure, I will kill this young man. In this way, no one in the endless sea will know that I, Yu Linkong, am still alive. My second primordial spirit will certainly not know about this. There is still a chance for me to take back the divine space island. However, before that, I must first find a male human cauldron. After plucking me, I will vent the excess magic power out of my body. That male cultivator will certainly not be able to withstand my magic power. He will certainly die. However, the chaste body that I, Yu Linkong, have cultivated for 4,000 years will be buried just like that. Oh, if I let you go, you can kill me in the outside world. What is a second primordial spirit? What? Do you know the mind-reading technique? How do you know what I am thinking? Yu Linkong's small face turned pale. It was her first time seeing a magic technique that could read other people's mind. My name is Ningfan. My alias is Zhou. You are my human cauldron. Listening to your inner voice, it seems like you need to find a male cultivator to pluck you to vent your excess magic power. Coincidentally, I am very interested in your cultivation base. With my plucking technique, I will certainly be able to satisfy you. Before that, you should consider it carefully. You really know the mind-reading technique. The little girl's small face alternated between red and white. She was so embarrassed and angry that she wanted to kill someone to vent her anger. What an audacious late nascent soul realm cultivator. Your name is Ningfan, right? How dare you put your lust on me? Honestly, with her current predicament, it was a wise move to find a male cultivator and vent her excess magic power to protect herself. However, her pride would not allow her to kneel in front of someone and become his human cauldron. In her 4,000 years of cultivation, she had killed people like scything flax. The name Yu Linkong was feared by everyone in the internal sea. Even the other 6 venerated beings of the internal sea did not dare to say anything frivolous to her. However, the little girl suddenly had an illusion. Even though the young man in front of her was only at the late nascent soul realm, he could really pluck me, even if he had to use force. However, if he uses force, the effect of plucking would be greatly reduced. That was why this young man gave her a chance to consider. Not to mention the grand formation here, it would be difficult for her to win against that corpse devil with her current strength. If you dare to blaspheme me, I will definitely kill your entire clan. The little girl raised her small face. She had a haughty aura. It seems like you still don't understand your current situation. Seal. Ningfan took out a jade slip and recorded the details of the auction in it. Then he tossed it to the little girl. With a thought, he activated the grand formation and sealed the little girl inside it. Only then did he leave the Yuan Yao world with the female corpse. The little girl caught the jade slip. As soon as she read the contents, her face immediately turned as cold as ice. How dare you? The other 6 venerated beings. How dare they? How dare they sell me as their human cauldron? How dare they take turns to search my memories? Courting death. Slowly withdrawing her anger, the little girl immediately realized a very serious problem. Now that she had regained her consciousness, if she leaves the Yuan Yao world, the 6 venerated beings would certainly capture her, search her soul and interrogate her. As for her identity as Yu Linkong, once it is exposed to the 6 venerated beings, a few of their enemies would be more than willing to kill her. It seems like I can't leave the Yuan Yao world. Unless the matter of the Divine Space Island is settled, or unless I recover my half-step void refinement realm cultivation base, putting aside the question of whether she should leave the Yuan Yao world or not, the problem now was that Ning Fan would not let her go at all. It was not difficult to break the grand formation, but she would never be able to leave this world. She urgently needed a male human cauldron to pour her magic power into that unlucky fellow's body in order to save her life. If she could not leave, there would naturally be no male cultivator. Other than Ning Fan who could enter this world, there would probably be no one else who could dual cultivate with her. The little girl's expression turned gloomy. There were only two paths in front of her. One was death. The other was to be plucked by Ning Fan. Damn it! I, Yu Lingkong, have lived unhindered for 4,000 years. Now I actually fell to the point where I have no choice but to dual cultivate with a man. How could this happen? In the room of the profound Jade Palace, Ning Fan and the female corpse appeared. The female corpse wore an indifferent expression. She was not interested in Yu Lingkong at all. However, Ning Fan's expression was filled with uncertainty. I didn't expect that I would awaken this woman's memories by accident. What's more, I didn't expect her to be the leader of the 7 venerated beings of the Internal Sea, the Lord of the Divine Space Island, Yu Lingkong. If that's the case, there will be countless troubles for me to pluck this woman. It's a little difficult to break the defense of her body and plant the plucking finger on her. Besides, this woman is a half-step void refinement realm cultivator. Even though her cultivation base has fallen, she might have a way to temporarily recover some of her strength and kill me if I push her too far. If I want to pluck this woman, I can only make her yield. Forget it. If she doesn't submit to me, she will definitely die. With her fierce and decisive personality, she probably won't choose death for her purity. I'll deal with this woman after the trip to the secret realm of the broken world. If I can improve my strength in the secret realm, I won't be able to control her even if she doesn't obey me. Even if she is the woman of a supreme being of the Internal Sea, she will still be my human cauldron. Besides, once I subdue this woman, all the female cultivators of the Divine Space Island under her command will become my human cauldron. This woman seems to have quite a number of Divine Transformation Realm disciples. However, the Divine Space Island seems to have gone through some unforeseen events. Is it the backlash of my second primordial spirit? It seems like it's really a wise decision for me not to cultivate my second nascent soul. Also, I won't have to face the risk of being devoured by it. Ning Fan's expression softened. He collected his thoughts and waved his palm to take out the myriad sword separating grass. There were only a few days left before the opening of the secret realm. A few days was too short. It was so short that he couldn't do anything. For the time being, he should stabilize the power of the second finger of the sword finger. Even though he had condensed this finger, it was still far from completion. After cultivating to this stage, Ning Fan was faced with a very serious problem. He had to make a choice. He had too many abilities. However, if he had too many of them, he might not be able to master them. For example, the Dragon Vortex Fire, the Sense Concealment Art, and the Sense Defense Art. If he wants to raise the power of his techniques to the Divine Transformation Realm, he would need to spend too much time. Although his time was limited, there were too many things that he could do. I don't have enough time to cultivate my magic techniques. I can only use magic treasures to make up for my weaknesses when I attack and defend myself. What I need to improve at the end of the day is still my cultivation base and magic power. The advancement of my cultivation base is the foundation. As for my pill concoction technique, my elementary grade 5th revolution pill concoction technique is enough for me before I reach the Divine Transformation Realm. However, after I reach the Divine Transformation Realm, my pill concoction technique cannot fall behind. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.